Back in my bag, yo. Conscious. ISO. Diamond. Back in my bag and I gotta brag, I do this shit for real. When we was down and we had nothing, we had to share a meal. We put the shit in overdrive with no steering wheel. Shorty throw that thing back in a pair of heels. Yeah, she be riding on that thing like a Ferris wheel. Yeah, I love them dark skin, brown skin, caramel. You know I had to bring it to the hood like she Karen Civil when she keep on turning head. Cause when she woke that thing jiggle, and we going back to back on them like we Huey and we Riley. This that back in my back, low, we back again so highly. This that back in my back, low, we back to change the climate. This that back in my back, low, we bring the force like Tommy. Back in my back flow. Back in my, back in my bag, yeah. I'm back in my, I'm back in my bag, yeah.
Lights go dark, the stream comes on. Javon's here, the vibe is strong. Click and clack, the steel in sight. Every edge sharp in Friday night. Night flicks dance under the light. Blades that shine and cut so tight. Handles spin and edges glide. Friday night flicks worldwide. The craft with steady flow. Steel and story you'll wanna know. Flick of the wrist, how smooth it goes. Every frame a master show. Night flicks dance under the light. Blades that shine and cut so tight. Handles spin and edges glide. Friday night flicks worldwide. Karambit steel. Every flick has that cool appeal. The chat goes wild when he reveals a masterpiece you wish was real. Viewers locked in, they can't resist. The flick of steel's a weekly twist. Carving moments, he makes it slick. Juve on streaming, doing the trick. Resist. The flick of steel's a weekly twist. Carving moments, he makes it slick. Juve on streaming, doing the trick. Roll wide. Friday night flicks worldwide.
Hey guys, can y'all hear me? Sorry about that. I had to get to the volume, so I just danced through it. Can you hear me? Can you see me? Am I too loud? Am I not loud enough? I always like to check that out of the gate because I never know. I live with a cat who changes all kinds of stuff. What's up, everybody? Happy Friday. Happy Friday night flicks. Glad you're all here. We should have a good evening. Got a poll going. All kinds of things we can talk about. But can y'all hear me? A thumbs up if the sound's okay, because that's the most important thing. If I rant and you can't hear me, that's going to suck. Always. Without a doubt, said Stevie. All right, I'm going to assume y'all can hear me. I'm going to go up and start saying hello. Get y'all all greeted in here. Get you checked in, so to speak. Marco's here early. Kathleen Smith, channel member. What's up, young lady? Yo, Isabella, channel member. What is up, brother? Crazy Roach is in the house. Good to see you, channel member. Good to see you, my friend. We got brother Paul Mills, channel member, in the house. Good to see you, Paul. Did your package come today, by the way? Just curious. Who else we got in here? I started just a little bit early, but I thought I wasn't going to be able to start at all. Stevie, tell me if when you try to go live tonight, it takes like 5 minutes of spinning before it actually connects you live. Homer Polites, channel member, what is up, brother? Good to see you. We got Henry G in the house. Good to see you, Henry. I think I said hey to Crazy Roach, channel member, but I'm going to say hey again because Crazy Roach is talking to everybody, and this is a good thing. We got Paul Might in the house, shooting the old proverbial bird. Good to see you, brother. What is up? What is up? Who else we got in here? We got said Stevie, and that was in the cat reference, but you can really work that sentence a lot of different ways. At least in my story, my personal story, which I plan not to write because it will forever incriminate me. What is up, Craig Vincent? Good to see you, buddy. He was. He is now laying on the couch, as she should be. Now, she will probably get up and want out and really be whining here in a little bit, but we will ignore Aaron B. What is going on, brother? The smock is it's one I've had for a while. I love it. Are you talking about the Spyderco smock, Aaron? Talk to me, brother. I love the smock. Gas Station Knives is in the house. What is up? Chad K, channel member, what is up? And you're not a mod. Hold on one second. Now you can share links if you want to, as long as they're approved links. With great power comes great responsibility, but share your friends' links, share your YouTube links, your Instagram links, anything you want to. Good to see you, buddy. I think Gas Station Knives areas again. There's Marco. He's back. What's up, Marco? Good to see you, brother. All right, guys. So I hope everybody's had a fantastic week. They're having a killer Friday. It's been a wild week. It's been a good week. Have not had any knives come in. Again, I say that. I've got several things coming in. I'm trying to work with, not because there are more opportunities to work with American companies right now and companies that are doing things here. I got a couple of things coming in. One thing I'm really excited about, said Stevie, that you were showing off the other day from Tenable. I've got that coming in. I've got a box of knives what's up, NPC EDC? A box of knives that Richard Hopkins sent for me for the channel to divvy out to you guys. And I've not unboxed it yet. I came back from my dad's. Crazy. I was running late for the live. Big Jim, what's up? I'm running late for the live. Anyway, come in. It won't go live. It won't go live. I was about to kill this stream, just wipe it out of the queue because it never put a thumbnail in YouTube for some reason. I do it all through StreamYard. Then I almost went live through YouTube, and I thought I can't do that because I've got a couple of links out. We'll see what happens, guys. Hopefully it will continue to work. I've got some knives on the table that are all USA made knives, not for any specific reason, except I'm kind of getting into them. And just bought the smock and crew wear. You will absolutely love it. My smock is not in the case right next to me. The one I have is S30. I will tell you, a lot of people, it's a licorice knife, right? I've heard a lot of people in the community not love it. It is my favorite Taiwan Spyderco by a long shot. It is what my favorite EDC lock type, which is the top liner lock, which is a smock lock. Now it's the top liner lock. But lately I've been carrying my PM2 with my bronze lynch clip, my bronze hardware, and my blue AWT scales, liner delete. So I was able to take the liner off the clip side, much lighter with one liner. Who just stuck in here? Addicted to Blades. What's up, brother? Good to see you, man. But the pair of two, I did a video when I was going through my collection because that's what I've been doing lately, is kind of doing long-term thoughts because there are no other really knives for me to look at, which is fine. I've got plenty to go through, but I was trying to find out what is my ideal EDC go-to when it comes to the things I do, which are cutting a lot of cardboard, cutting into cat food bags, cutting into food products, you name it, cutting into blister packs. And I went through my collection, and I do happen to have several of these in different blade styles, but I was this is the first knife that I bought. Well, second, I bought a Dragonfly, but the second knife I bought, the first one over $100 when I got back into knives during COVID. I got it at St. Nick's Knives, a little knife store here in where I live. and they sell online, St. Nick's Knives. They do some exclusives as well, especially with Spyderco. But it's the Blurple S110V. So it's had a lot of different scales since I've had it, a lot of different looks. But I've never stropped it. I've never sharpened it. I was talking to Shane today. He's got a Mannix lightweight that is an S110V, and he said the same thing. It's just a really interesting steel. Now, does it have any lateral strength or toughness? No. You give that up for that edge retention. What are they made out of? Are they G10? You could probably dye them yourself if they're G10. If they're titanium, there are a lot of people that you can send them to. Aaron took his 15V Max out of the case. It's been 6 months easy. You know, that's what's I've gone through, and it's been hell a year now, but I went through a major life change where I kind of got out of the corporate world, not by my choice, but by a big change in the industry. And so my disposable income, or my income, was kind of taken away. So I used to always buy knives for content, but through the years, I managed to accrue knives that I like. I've given away a lot of knives, but I also have kept a lot of knives, and it's gotten me back into my collection. And I was a reckless knife addict more than a collector. So I would order something and it would all be about the incoming thanks crazy. What's thanks MPZ? MPG. I can't talk. But I would always get caught up in the hype of it being incoming. I'd get a new knife in, a drop, something that I pre-ordered or something that I wanted. I'd play with it for a few days, and then inevitably something else would come in that would kind of replace it. And it'd go in my case, and I'd carry it occasionally. But since I'm not picking up new knives, I'm really going through and realizing I've got some banger knives, and it's really, I think, making me look at my content differently. Which, if you can call it content, I make basic videos of knives and what I think about them. But I do have some long-term thoughts on some cool knives. One that's coming up probably tomorrow. I've got it filmed. It's my Zeba S5. It's a knife that I don't carry very much, but I do carry it. That was one of the conditions of Dark Gravity selling it to me. It is a probably the fanciest knife in my collection, made in Brooklyn, New York, by Michael Zeba. The blade is done by Jason Knight. There's Zeba on that side, and says Knight knives on that side. But I learned a lot about this knife. They do it in a lot of different themes. This happens to be Odin is a theme, and Odin is the Norse god of kind of all shit that is battle wisdom, what they call the Nordic alphabet, and leading warriors, fallen warriors, to Valhalla. And he gave up an eye. That's why he's got one eye, to gain some knowledge, all kinds of weird shit that I don't understand. But when you Google it, because Michael Zeba, every time I'd post this on Instagram, he would throw a riddle at me, tell me to look deeper because I'm missing something. And you can look at this knife a lot of different times over. You can look at the back spacer. I don't know how to read Nordic runic alphabet, but let me get my on the inside of this back spacer. All right. On the inside of this back spacer, it has got, see those little 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 letters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think it's 5. It's got 5 runic, which I think that's how they pronounce it, alphabetic letters that I don't know what it says. It's also got some of that up around the pivot. I don't know what it means, but I know it's cool. So anyway, I'm getting ready to do a long-term review on this because it was also either 2020 or 2021 Blade Show West Tactical Knife of the Year without all the frou-frou, but if you look at it at its basic element, it is a harpoon tactical fighter knife that feels great in the hand. Somebody came up sneaking, you could definitely leave them leaking. Type of knife, Slurpee saver. But there's a review coming on this tomorrow. Long term, it's a great knife. And I picked it up. One of the conditions of Dark Gravity letting it go was that I'd carry it. You know, he just put it in his, what's up, Dwayne? He just put it in his case. He didn't feel like it was getting Mimo. What's up? That's exactly what it says, Mimo. Now I got a good deal. I got a bro deal, and we picked it up. I was with Dark Gravity when he got it at Blade Show in Nashville. And when you go to Blade Show anywhere, you can get table prices a lot of times that are less than what you'll see on the website. But it definitely, I was looking because I was trying to get a description on some of that Odin shit, and unfortunately I had to pull it from Google. But those knives, they sell for quite a bit if you can find them on the secondary. It's a forever knife for me, because I told Dark Gravity he had first right of refusal if I ever decide to get rid of it. I don't think I will. I love that knife. Richard, what is up, brother? Can't remember. Richard sent in, like I was saying earlier, the only knives I've gotten in so far this week. I've got a package coming on Monday, I think 2. And then I should have a couple little scattered things coming, but not much. There's been I will call it, from what I've seen in some of the chats or the DMs in some of the rooms, that there's been a disruption in a lot of the Chinese knives that go out to different reviewers that get different knives, different percentages. Like, for example, I've got a couple of knife companies. Kaiser will usually send me a fixed blade or two, but they'll send other people other stuff. Well, across the board, except for one reviewer, nobody's gotten anything from Kaiser. And it turns out that it's because of taxes, as they put it. But we all know that there are other things at play. I found it interesting. I find all the shit interesting that seems to trigger people, and I never mean to. Let me see what our poll's doing. I don't want to end the poll. How do I look at the poll? Favorite steel, what upsets you most about knives? Now, I could not type more into that. The thought was, because I asked for Kyle for some help with these questions, and the thought was, what upsets you most about knife industry? Insert knife community, insert knives, insert anything to do with knives. Like, what is your pet peeve? And we can talk about some stuff like that. We can keep it knifey, or we can keep it lifey. I was going to put a 5th one. I didn't know I was getting 4. I thought I was getting 3, because the other is just chat between whatever you guys are talking about, whatever y'all want to talk about. Kind of do it like Stevie and Maddie do it, except not as funny. Long wait times. Absolutely. Now, are you talking about, Aaron, specifically imported knives, or I guess USA knives? You're waiting a long time too, and if you're looking for an Oz, good luck. Yeah, that's something, and I think we're going to see in the interim. I think we're going to see a lot more extended wait times for stuff coming in. Shallows, cheap TCX. What is it? Is that a Protec? Again, I'm an idiot. I'm going to try to Google it. Hi, Car. Evening, brother. What are you doing, my friend? Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are chilling, and Joseph S. is in the house. I don't think I've said hey to him yet. Good to see you, buddy. I think I did say hey to Craig, but I'm going to say hey to him again. T6 screws. Absolutely. Yeah, I think there's some rare cases, and where I think those rare cases are when you've got a modern knife with carbon fiber scales, or I'll take up for my favorite USA company, somebody like TRM that makes it very easy to take off scales, but you don't want a bigger scale or bigger piece of hardware necessarily on your show side. But they're very easy to use and they're very deep. If you take these T6s out, they look different than any other T6s I have because they make these. But I'm a huge would love to see T6s go away. They have in a lot of cases. One of the things I've started to say in my disassembly videos, because it's almost burned me a couple of times, and something I always say that anybody can take apart anything. And that's the truth, because I'm the least handy person with tools. But one thing you want to really be careful of is don't assume that pivot's a T8. Don't assume it's necessarily a T10. Check your bits and make sure you've got no play and the next bigger bit does not fit, because that's I think the number one culprit of stripped bits. And I did it the other day on a Spyderco, and corrected afterwards because I was trying to lay out my bits for that disassembly. And I thought I just needed two. And then I thought, wait a minute, something's not right here, because I've done a lot, but I forget. I've done a lot of Spydercos and they're all the same. Yeah, Aaron, that is to me, this is me personally, depending on the knife, and name a couple because I might own some of those knives and have just never run my finger up against it. But I look at that as almost a design flaw and something I would almost send a knife back for either adjustment or for a return, because nobody wants that. And I would think that that's something that on a manufacturing or a making side, you could easily check. Again, if it's sitting within the scale, like an eighth or a quarter of an inch, and you're not inadvertently going to go in there, to me, it's kind of like a frame lock spine whack test. Is it flawed, or is it just the way that the blade had to sit in the handle? But I get it, and I don't understand how knife designers come up with, when you find that, not perfect, but when you find that fantastic knife that does so many things right. To me, it's just my hat goes off to the designer and to the manufacturer who made it happen. I've only got USA knives out here, but a lot of the great designs that I own are Chinese knives, usually by USA designers, but they're done very, very well. 7,000 variants. We could almost take that memo and say an oversaturated knife market where everybody and even companies that I didn't know about are coming out, and there's so much stuff flooding the market. I think, to me, as a consumer, it's kind of noise. So I don't look at that. And Joseph, when I look back, because I was buying those for a while, Civivi's always kind of done it. Kaiser does it monthly. I think Civivi probably releases them monthly too. But if you think about a budget knife, and I'm talking about the way that they see us as consumers, they think we might buy more, right? They think that if they have more knives in the market and it works, we do buy more. What's up, buddy?
How we doing?
I'm going to send off my USA made knives for a second. Make them go away. Right now, what upsets you most about knives industry / everything? So we're getting some questions about that.
Oh, nice.
He said it perfectly. Everything is at the very least good and fine nowadays. Very few things are terrible or great. Everything is fine. Paul, that is very true. I agree with that. And I agree with what most people are going to cut with. It's kind of, what do you want? And in terms of great, there is very few great. And I wonder if that's because we've gotten spoiled because there's so many choices, or if there's just very few great. And I would be curious what you guys think great is. I know the Trinity is allegedly Strider, Chris Reeves, and Hinder, which we know that's kind of outdated. True Dude, what is up, buddy? Brand New American, what is up?
Yeah, the ability to call something great is tough to do anymore. Unless, to me, to me, great is something that is more than likely going to be not mass produced. It's going to be either a custom or a more of a limited item. It's going to be extremely well made, something that's going to last, high quality materials. More than likely, is going to be expensive. Um, but that doesn't mean it's always going to be great if you have those things. But I think that's kind of the beginning to have something great.
And
You
I'll
can have
take
great
that.
designs, but not well executed. So make an actual great item, I think, is typically meets
See,
those criteria.
I can find a couple of budget items that I think are great. For one, it's the Civivi FSG. It's not for everybody. Not they're the Civivi. What is it? FG. I can't think of the name. I've got the Wii version too, but the Civivi's actually better. The one that's got the Snex lock. And when you say great, it's not fitting every box, but to me, it's a great knife. Because the price point, the
Correct.
materials are good for what you're paying. You're paying about, I think, $78 to $88 for that knife. They make a lot of different scales for it now. So if you don't like the holy scales, you can get plastic or G10 scales, or you can get aluminum, or I guess it's aluminum from Original Goat. But what I hate, and I'm not saying it's great like a design like a SPK Lamia or an Oz Roosevelt or a even smaller batch of Bless Ripley. There's so many great knives, but I think you can expand out on it. What I hate and what I think's overused is when people say everything's great. You know,
Right.
if you're looking at content and everything is this is great, this is game changing, this is that, and I'm guilty of saying. But usually, when I mention something great, I'm referring to it how it applies to my collection. But there's a lot of
So,
great everything.
sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I was done. I'm just rambling, dude.
So I think to me, there's a difference between saying something is it's great for the money or it's great for me. But if you're trying that, because that's all being great subjectively. If you're trying to say great objectively, I think there's certain criteria you need to hit.
I don't think you can put great objectively. That's something that I think we could have that conversation, and you could definitely say there are baselines that some people might consider great, but I look at if you take it and extrapolate it out to the community, that great can mean a lot of things. What Aaron says here, he and I are just the opposite, where I had a pair of 3 but got rid of it, but I have 3 pair of 2s. And I figured it when I was looking through all my knives in terms of probably the best bang for the buck in an EDC knife for me out of my collection, it's my pair of 2. Um, I think it's a great knife. I think the Rat is a great knife. I don't think it's an an example of knife excellence, what can be done, because I think are we maybe talking about 2 different things or not? Because I think it's just how you define great, right?
Well, there's obviously that. Anytime you're having a discussion on something, applying what is the description of it or the end goal. But yeah, to me, it comes down to when I think of something's great, it's
The best materials.
build quality. Well, that doesn't have to be the best materials, but build quality, something that's decently construction as far as like titanium or whatever else. It doesn't. I'm not looking at something great going, well, this is in the cheapest possible option. It may be a great design. It may be a great principle as far as what they want to do with something, but it's not necessarily the great execution.
But I've seen some great execution on materials that I don't typically carry anymore, but that are much lower priced. A couple like the Miguron Moirel is a knife that I think about in the past, or the when I think of great, I think of it standing out of the class of knives that are similarly priced, right? Because there's so much of the market that lives in I did forever in budget knives. So I think you've got to give, or at least in the like, this is a great knife advice type of thing, or my subjective advice, this is a great knife. I kind of have to extrapolate it to all price points, but agree that it's not the same to have, you know, maybe VG10 and G10 or micarta and steel scales. But when you look at it, the tolerances are great. You know me, I put skiffs in everything. So I take my knives apart and they go together very, very well. You know, they're executed well. Now I've seen knives that aren't executed well, which I wouldn't call a great knife, but I think they can be great at multiple price points, personally.
So, for instance,
That's
this
my fucking dad calling me.
you need to get it. Go ahead.
No, I'm going to call him back here in a second. I'm just going to mute it. But go ahead. I didn't want to jump out of this yet.
No, I just was saying. So to me, like that knife is a very good knife, borderline great knife. The Civivi version of it is a good knife, but not a great knife. And then to me, if you were to get one of his customs, it would be great.
I agree. Keep that knife up there because that's the knife that I think of in my collection. I would call that a great knife for me. I think it fits almost everything that I'm looking for in that type of knife, and I think it's executed well in the version that I have, which is it Riot or whoever made it? And then his customs are very desirable. Now, I reviewed the Civivi, and that was my best knife of the year because it was $55. The blade was almost identical, except it had a fuller and thumb studs instead of that. And the action was, I had them both side by side, was for the money, it was amazing. So I would say that all three of those with a great design or a good design, if you think it's good, it could be good in all those price points, only because I don't think Civivi dropped the ball with Nitro V and G10 or micarta for $55. I know the customs are done very, very well. And I know Brian's a great maker. And I think he's very particular on quality control on all the Jaegers that have come back, right? That he's had ordered. I don't think I've ever heard of a bad batch.
No, and my thing is, it comes down to at that point, it's build quality. It's a great design, but it's build quality what makes it to me great. Like this is well made, but it's not in the same realm or ballpark of one of his customs.
Now, maybe not. I've not seen one of his customs, so that's very, very, very true. I know I've seen Chavez customs beside a Chavez Riot, and for me, in terms of fit and finish, and I realize it's done with computers and 3D mills or whatever, but I almost think that the fit and finish, if that's all we're talking about, can be executed very, very well across a lot of price points because the machinery being used and the tolerances that they're building them to. Again, it's not the same as having
Agreed. Some of that comes down to the feel in the hand as far as, we always talk about knife having soul or not. And when something is absolutely 100% perfect all the way around, it doesn't always feel that way. So, I mean, this is flawless, right? I mean, there's very few things on here I would change. And
yeah, for me, I agree with that 100%.
But it still feels like it's lacking a little bit comparable to something like, let me grab something like that.
Right. And again, we go back to
similar knives, both, done differently, but this feels better than this.
Sure. And a lot of that's because of where it sits in the market. It's kind of like saying you can have great super sport cars, you can have sport cars that are great, and you can have midsize and even budget that because you're comparing them to others in their market. I don't think you can take away the label of great only because of price. Now, I think if you want to say another word like exclusive, exquisite, something that acknowledges that it's a higher price point item, right? That's the one I was saying, Michael. Well, I've got the Wii. I've got the Wii Snex, and the Civivi's actually better, but it was made afterwards. But I do agree with what Kyle's saying, because I think a lot of it's, if you're talking about perceived value, i.e., resale, but a lot of things, but a lot of these knives that are great by the standards that are valid that you're using are out of the reach of a lot of people, right?
Well, I'm not talking price point. So, like I said earlier, to me, my saying
You're
there's a difference between. That's why I said let's get the definition. If you want a great design, then that could be at any price point. You want great execution, that typically, to me, gets mid-level and higher.
that MKM you've got, don't you think it's executed very, very well? I haven't seen it, but I know you like it. The one with the weird blade,
I don't
the
have
tall blade. Don't you have that one? It's the Conoco design.
Oh, MBK.
Yeah, what I say, MPK, MBK.
You're talking about this one?
Yeah. I mean, it's a great design, but don't you think the execution for what you paid?
It's done well, and it's done well for the price point. But I wouldn't say it competes with other items that are nicer.
Much more expensive. I agree with that. I agree with that. I'm just saying, if you look at that versus other knives in that price point, the design is excellent. And don't you think the fit and finish is probably on par or better than a lot in its price point? Which is determined by the design a lot of times, if the designers and the OEM have a good relationship.
Yeah, I mean, for the price point, it is a great knife. But again, we're going back to that subset of saying, well, is something great for the price point, or is it great because it's great?
No, and I think that's needs to be. I kind of think it's implied. I don't think every knife that somebody reviews is great, but I think there are exceptions where you might find a standout in all price point that could be labeled, or at least in my mind, thought of as a great knife. Again, the Miguron Moirel was one. And I'm talking about the early ones that were 40. They were $39 or $40. Not something I carried, but I gave several away. A great knife. Was it the best materials? And no. Could it have been made better for more money? Sure. And they're making it better now. I think they're offering like $70 ones that have like, what do they call them when the liners are inset? It's still a budget knife, but it's not a $30 knife.
Right. Well, okay, so let's look at two different knives. Let's look at, for roughly the same price point, you've got the Saber.
Is that Blade Show BSA?
Blade Show, Elena.
Oh, yes. I'm hoping to go this year. I've gone every year before. This year's a little bit up in the air, but we're working towards it. Are you going, girl? I know you're on the other side of the world. You usually go to West. Go ahead, Kyle. I'm sorry, bud.
So that's 140. That's, I think it was 140 to 125 range. Lightweight and Rex 45. Objectively, this is the better steel. This is the proven
Hey, Chris.
design. This is, to me, a better design as far as aesthetics, better materials as far as stainless, but I will trust Spyderco's Rex 45 over Chinese S90.
Which is one variable, right? So you would say objectively, I don't think a knife, which is personal to a lot of people, there's objectively better steels, right? For if cutting's your most important thing, but I think cutting's the most important role a knife has, but I don't think everybody, me included, have always bought knives because they're the best cutters.
So if I wanted it for a tool, I would say this is the better knife. If I wanted it for how it feels, this is a much better knife of how it feels. Right.
So, and my only point is, for different reasons. Those could both be one because it's a classic design and it's kind of tried and true, and you can get rid of it on the secondary pretty quickly. I think the Spyderco could be called a great knife or a very good knife, and so could the MBK. But I'm just saying, if every knife that comes across your table is great because you're trying to push it great as a buzzword or a hype word, I think that's where it gets kind of flawed.
I don't disagree with that. I mean, I think that's
And they're
the
both great, Aaron. I think that a Toyota is a great car for the money, and I think a Lexus is probably a great car in that price point. If you're looking at if your main variable is longevity and reliability, and I haven't researched them enough, but that's just my initial thought on both of those brands. Go ahead,
yes.
buddy.
No, just some of it comes down to what you want out of it, and that's what we've talked about before in the past about certain things. It's your expectations versus what you're willing to pay to get those expectations. Sorry if I've been ignoring chat. I don't have it up, but I'll get it up here in a second. Sorry.
I'm trying to make the ones that are either funny or questions highlighted.
I don't know if anyone had questions for me. If you did and I didn't see it,
Well, Todd made a good point, and I think it goes back to what I was going to say is that the knife collecting journey takes different paths, and sometimes it takes people a while. It took me a couple of years to want to spend money that I didn't think I'd spend on knives. But then I learned from Dark Gravity that if I just don't buy everything that's coming out, what Todd said, and just waited, save that money and waited till that Hinderer was available or till that Strider was available. I'm not spending more on knives. I spend too much on knives anyway, or I did, but I'm just spending it differently. I'm allocating those dollars for one instead of 10.
Yeah. Drew, what's your question?
Go ahead, Drew, dude.
Aaron, very well said. Unfortunately, there for a long period of time, it was too many people. It was just everything was great. Use my affiliate. Everything's great. Use my affiliate. And people were buying every knife that came out, and it's just the same as the one before. There's nothing special about it.
And a lot of that, I was guilty of it, is getting a relationship that I still love that relationship, but with a certain reviewer or reviewers, and just going off face value. I always watch a lot of reviews, and usually I used to be introduced to some knives like the Chickadee, which I was glad to hear tonight when I was watching Metal Complex. Guess the fixed blade he carries every day.
Don't care.
I know, the Chickadee. Because it's a great knife. USA made great knife. But anyway.
Drew, yes, I have, not mine, but I have sharpened a saber tooth so far. It did okay. I think it's probably in that same realm of what we're getting from over there. I would say it's 60-ish, give or take. It's not phenomenal, but it's not bad. So
who makes the saber tooth so I can look at it? I'm not familiar with it.
That's the MBK. That's one I just showed.
Oh, and it's S90, right?
Yeah.
I have to think that most of the reputable companies that are Asian companies, because they're trying to, however you look at it, take over the market or get more of the market, and they've got the foundries to do it, and they know now that people are actually testing this stuff, that they're probably trying to do a pretty good job. I know that they're not coming across that way in terms of cut tests and stuff, but I would think they're constantly getting better. And I don't know how good American steels are, except that I love collecting them. Are you still with me, Kyle?
1 second. Sorry. Had a coughing fit.
Hey, Cough, I'm going to put you on mute and call my dad back and see if he just butt dialed me. I just thought about that. Be right back.
All right, guys. Sorry about that. If you had any questions and I missed them, please rewrite them because I didn't get to have the chat up for a while. So fire away. See if I can scroll through to see if I missed any. I'll start saying hey to people that I missed. Palmer, B&A, Craig, Roach, Ron Crow, Five Door, Chris, Fook, Mills, Mr. Carr, Meredith, how are you? Richard, Mimo, Ed,
What's up, splitting slices? Gentlemen, bud.
Byron.
Buddy, that's fine. I'll be here. Well, sometimes Bees goes as late as I did, but I'll be here, buddy. You just come back whenever. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I just was saying hi to people. And Fook, I did just because I was trying to be polite.
How do you call Fook normally?
I just type it a certain way.
I got you.
I
type call Coonley, COON-LEE. You remember why I do that, don't you?
Yeah.
Who couldn't pronounce it? Was it Shane back in the day? I have a feeling it was trying to teach Shane.
Probably. I'll type it in chat how I normally do it. Well, it shows up under your name. I always forget.
No worries. But I think one of the things that bothers me is, and I'm not saying gatekeeping, but, and I understand people being fans, and that's awesome. Uh-oh, we got one here.
I would kind of agree with that, but not fully.
What's that, Drew dude? Did I say something stupid?
No.
It wouldn't surprise me if I did. No, I was going to say what bothers me is that I don't mind the fanboys. I'm a fanboy of several brands, and I talk about it, but I don't think you should be. Everything else sucks. Kind of dialogue is my only thought. That's one of the things that's my pet peeve. Or anything sucks. I mean, unless it's just something that you could do better, then you could say, well, you could get a better knife if you got this. But to say somebody's knife sucks, I think it's kind of rude.
So my stance on that is you have to understand that there's zero people in this world that aren't hypocrites at some point or another. It's whether or not you continue to be hypocritical. Everyone has biases.
Oh, yeah.
And as long as you are upfront about that and are saying that, okay, we can try to be objective, even though I have biases, and say, hey, let's look at what other potential options are out there, whether they're decent or not, is more beneficial to everyone than just saying everything's shit. Now, I'm jaded as far as, and like, I think a lot of things aren't great because I've spent a lot of time around things and testing stuff and learned stuff behind the scenes.
But I also, as I was learning, I had great experiences from those stepping stone knives as they were in my collection. That doesn't mean they're stepping stone knives for everybody, because some people, they're knives that they're aspiring to get. I just think if you're, and again, I always say that I'm not your typical, maybe I am your typical knife guy that cuts just the basic stuff, but I cut just the basic stuff. And a lot of things will perform fine, you know, on the basic stuff. Now, I wouldn't take my hinderer to cut a bunch of cardboard, but I would take my CJRB Pyrite Light.
Damn it, Drizzy.
The biasist. I learned I had a Kershaw bias thanks to Ryan Mills. Actually, it started before that when who sent me the iridium? Was it Richard? Somebody else? I think it was somebody else. But when I tried my first Kershaw non-assisted, they were perfectly centered. They had great action. Now they were bar locks, which I personally don't like, but I know what they're good for. Yeah, Craig, I love cold steels too.
Byron, yes, I would, but with the stipulation on it that it's not the same price point. Everything is going to be, that's going to cost a little more because it takes more time to line everything up, and you're adding a secondary on something that's not having a bevel cut in at all. So it takes a while. But potentially, yes. If you have something or you have one, let me know and I'll work with you. But that costs a little bit more doing a double edge than, especially in having to cut one in, a bevel in. So
is that who you're answering?
Yes, he was talking about the one I did for Bob DeMarco.
Ah, I knew Ryan sent me the Bel Air. I was thinking who sent me the first one I reviewed that made me want to review the Bel Air was I want to say it's the Iridium. It was D2, great blade shape, aluminum handle. Let me pull it up. Oh shit. But again, I had a bias where I wouldn't even really buy them, look at them. But I used to have a bias against fixed blades. I didn't want anything to do with them. And then
There
I had
you
a
go.
bias
Chris,
against
did you
slip
not
joint.
send it to you, Javon?
Oh, you found it?
Or he's in chat. You said Chris 229 sent you the Iridium.
Oh, thanks, Chris. And I forgot who won it, but it was a excellent knife. And I apologize, Chris. I remember people. I just don't remember individual stuff because I'm brain dead, and I do apologize for that.
Aaron, yes. If you want information, reach out to me. I don't want to put somebody on blast in chat that's not here to defend themselves, but yes, I will explain that to you if you want information.
Yeah, I've only gotten little bits, but yeah, I don't think you'll see her anymore, Paul. It's my thought. Or you won't see her as Lacey Lace. You might see her as Monster Racing too. Good to see you, Ryan. I hope you're doing well, buddy, on this Friday night. I know you've got all kinds of stuff going on. You probably just popped in.
What's up, Ellis? And Aaron, I'm trying to be as fair and diplomatic as possible. And I just don't want to, I don't think, even though I have feelings, I don't think it's fair to say that publicly without
someone in here to be able to
rebuttal that. So
yeah. Well, that's credible. I mean, no, not credible. That's honorable. That is honorable. But at some point, unless it's just alleged, at some point, I don't think it's wrong to air out major indiscretions. People talk about Allie pretty openly. But again, I don't know the specifics on there. But yeah, that is respectable, Kyle, which is rare for Kyle.
I try to. I prefer to give someone the benefit of the doubt, and at least in defending themselves. I have my feelings and I have my information on that, but I still would want the same courtesy. If
sure, totally understandable. Switching subjects, Kyle.
Let's see. Damn it, Mimo, don't you start.
Ed, I think 80 CRV too, but I'm biased.
Ed, I would pick neither. But if that's your only two options, it depends on what it's using for. If you're wanting 52-100 is going to be tougher. But
a hunting Skinner.
I know, but it depends on what you're. I mean, if you're hitting bones, so forth, then I would go with the 52-100. If you're just skinning, then I would go with the 80 CRB.
So what would you go with ideally around that same price point if it was available?
Oh, anything in the AEBL 14C Nitro V range. If you wanted to step it up, you could go to something a little bit more all around, like a 3V or a S45, Magna Cut, etc. But yeah, I would not go that route unless that was your only potential options.
Kyle's just holding back some tea. That's all, Paul. Good question.
DC-53 is, I don't want to phrase it. That was kind of like a art. I do believe that, if I'm not mistaken, that was the Artisan before they did what they switched to, that AR.
AARPM9 or whatever.
Yeah. I that was theirs before that, and it's okay at best. It's a basic budget steel. The and Migron used it as well too. Yeah, Mimo.
And on my St. Nick's Knives exclusive giant mouse, I use the Slepner, or however you pronounce that.
Yeah, that's a middle low. I mean, that's a
tool steel, right?
It's a middle of the road budget steel. I wouldn't call it anything else great. Yeah, Mimo, but he also loved the AR PM9, which is shit. So
I've had great experiences with AAR PM9 for what I've used it for, and I've sharpened it and didn't have any problems with it. But I'm not a good sharpener and wouldn't necessarily know. You know, I haven't sharpened any of my Spydercos. I haven't needed to.
Ed, if that's the only options he's given you, then that's solely for the fact of he probably doesn't want to heat treat stainless or anything more complex. He's probably going through a forge, or not a forge, excuse me, a kiln. But yeah, I would look at other options out there unless you're 100% set on going through him. And if you're going through him, then go ADCRV. So.
See what Mimo said? Elmer called it Super D2.
Yeah, well.
Do you think it's Super D2 or do you think it's just an Elmerism?
Yeah, that's just being said.
Gotcha. Man, I can't believe the poll is so much. What upsets you most about knives? That's in there more. What else upsets you guys? Throw some stuff in there. We'll chew it up. We'll try to solve it.
Oh, that's what's so far leading the poll?
47%. The next closest is 23%. Where do you turn for knife facts?
Nice.
And that meant, like, when you're going for that fact, that truth, where do you go for your truth? I always thought snip. I think, now what do you think about that, Kyle? It is similar to D2?
I have only had limited experience with them, and I did not find it to be anything special. I will look back in the notes and see, but it was, to me, it could have been just because I know Lion Steel was using it for a while as well too, and it was junk from them. It could have been from them, but I'll go back and look. But was not impressed with it at all. So
I would almost say there's some bar locks that are pretty affordable, but they're still priced higher. But I think we know why. But yeah, they're high.
Oh wow! Hang on, we got a couple.
What
Craig, there. Yes, it's similar to your that family, which is ATS 34, RWL 34, CPM 154. Those are all in the same quote unquote family. So don't steer clear of just because it's something you haven't heard of. It's not a bad steel. It's not phenomenal, but it's not a bad steel. It's something that a lot of custom makers used to use because, like CPM 154, it's easy to polish.
Trying to reach one that I just sharpened. I think I did this at 20. I don't think you want to lay the angle back because it's so thin, but I sharpened that at 20 degrees, and it is a laser. And the steel held up really well. Now, I didn't lay it back because it's so thin. But for, what are they, $29?
Yeah, I don't.
I think it's a great budget knife. I mean, for what it is. Now, I think the cold steel tough light is a great little knife for what it costs. And I don't like backlocks, but that doesn't mean it's not a great knife for cutting stuff. I agree with that. And that's one of the variables that we don't really know with a lot of the knives coming out of overseas. It might be called something, but we know it's not really that steel. So how good is it? Or is it that?
Yeah. Let's see what else we got popping through there. Chad, I don't disagree. I think it's good in tasteful small ways, whether you use it as a bolster or use it as an inlay or here and there, but it doesn't have to be everything. I agree with that. Kathleen, that is. Oh, sorry, I was clicking on.
That was my bad. You go ahead. You click.
All right, there we go.
I was clicking the same thing.
There are people that have done testing out there, but I wouldn't say it's phenomenal, but it's also not as bad as what some of the D2 that comes out, because some of the D2 that comes out obviously is not D2. It's just whatever pot metal they concocted. Their D2 has gotten a little bit better, but majority of it is not good. The one thing I will take out of there that I think is more apt to be reasonably decent would be any of the 14C Nitro V stuff, just because it has a wider range. Is it going to be performing at 58, 57 like what it should be at 61, 62? No, but you're not going to get that from a production facility. And that steel has such a wide range that it's okay even at those lower ones. So I would say steer clear of anything from over there that's not in that family, 14C, Nitro V, etc. Unless it's something that's a design that you have to have, and then by all means, go get what you want. I mean, but if you're talking purely about performance, that's what I would look towards.
Chad, that's very accurate, I think, in a lot of ways. I don't know how many of y'all saw that video that caused so much grief, so I won't bring it up again, but there's a lot to be said for marketing your stuff, right? And making it very, very desirable. And they're very desirable knives in a lot of cases. And I don't know that for a fact S90 and the Magna Cut coming from China is how much worse it is than any S90 or Magna Cut coming here. I would think if it was heat treated better here, it would be better, but I don't know. I'm sure there's a lot of material difference.
Yeah, I mean, well, okay, so we always talk about them not wanting to create their own. There for a while, they were actually cloning to the fat carbon. They were doing generic fat carbon over there, and it wasn't even the same material. Hey, Louis, sorry I didn't get back to you today, buddy. I'll hit you up after this.
Paul Mills voted for Nice Steel Talk.
Well, sorry, Paul. What do you want to know, buddy? I'll answer that too. We've been talking about nice steels.
All questions are welcome.
Yeah. And back to Chad's comment about that's the formula, because that's the trend and wave that they're riding. Mimo, it's 6 one and a half dozen other. They're both subpar, but I've seen S90 done out of China so poorly that it's disgusting. I'm looking at you too, son. I mean, it looked like tin foil. But I've sharpened both Chinese S90 and Magna Cut, and they're both from the reputable companies. They're decent. I wouldn't say they're good, but they're decent. They're enough to get through. I wouldn't say one is necessarily leaps and bounds better than the other, though.
Ryan, I agree with you, and I've been surprised how many people, because I put it in the YouTube group, have jumped to Cowboys defense saying, well, the social media team didn't have anything to do with that decision. They absolutely did. When they were seeing the chat, the post get flamed, it was up to them to say, we need to address this instead of just deleting the post. So I agree. To me, it's just there's nothing defendable about it. Paul, I don't think that's altogether true on everything. On certain things, I'm sure. I did not get in on a full tracking yet. Tomorrow is Tempest Knives dropping some stuff. KC's dropping some stuff.
Be shady. Yep. When you actually have something done well, it's totally different.
What's up, Be Shady?
Craig, that's because it's so inexpensive, and I don't necessarily know that they're actually using 14C, but obviously if they're getting their hands on it, then good for them. But that's a problem. It's a cheap steel to buy, so therefore it got labeled as a budget steel, and it got put into categories of junk, right?
But it's a good steel.
Performance wise, it is a middle class. I think there's budget, middle, and then high end, performance stuff. Performance wise, 14C is middle class. I mean, it does everything pretty well rounded, except for edge retention, but it's actually better than you would think because of the edge stability. You can take it thinner, you can hone it and strap it back a lot better than a lot of steels. But price point wise, it fits into the budget category, so it got labeled that, which is unfortunate. So,
and what I've noticed on Amazon before tariffs ever happened was their prices have crept up almost double in a lot of stuff that I used to get. And they're brands that I don't know anything about, but they're $300 knife brands on Amazon now. Aaron's got a question for you, Kyle.
Rex 76 is 31 more Rexes than 45. They're both good. I mean, they are designed to be edge retention monsters. They're not designed to be. Rex 45 is going to be tougher than Rex 76. Rex 76 is going to outcut Rex 45. So that's kind of the hierarchy. The higher
trade off that you're making.
The higher you go with those is you're going to get more performance of edge retention, but you're going to lose toughness. So
a little better balance with the Rex 45.
Yes.
And Louis, that could be because they're heat treated different, or one might not be S90V. We never know. I know I've got a knife that's allegedly Ilmax from a reputable designer that I've had to deal with a couple of rust issues on. Surface rust, but still. None of my other knives from that OEM are doing that. Interesting.
What else did I miss?
Good point, Paul. And I think D2 is one that's been beaten down because of the Chinese D2. I think there are some.
Yeah, they've run that. China run D2 for most people's perception. I still don't think it's the end all be all, but custom done or well done D2 is a decent steel. I would take neither one, Michael. Well, I take it back. Hang on. Let me rephrase that. Bestex M cut, because I've sharpened it, performs better than any Chinese N390, period. But it's still not good. You there, Javon?
Yeah, I'm just looking. I'm going through the chat, just trying to find stuff for you.
I didn't lose you.
No, you didn't lose me, buddy. I'm just reading while you talk.
Yeah, Paul. Something. If you get Nitro V14C, that whole ABL, and something in the 62, 63 range, it is phenomenal. It actually, I mean, that'll outperform any Chinese S90.
At least what kind of knife this is. Is it Kitsune?
Yeah, I'm not familiar
here
with
it
that one.
Tanto. Let me find a picture of it. I know Cold Steel makes some really nice. Here we go. That's a unique design. Let me share it and tell me if this is what you're talking about.
What's up, Knife Nut? What's up, Yoko, Pedro?
That looks like a very unique design. And Bark River is real interesting because they'll
Look,
use
a little bit bigger. That looks almost like a Quaken-ish, but without the Japanese Tanto.
which one?
The one you're looking at there. That looks.
They don't all look the same. To me, they all look the same.
Yeah, no, I'm saying, but the handle shape and everything, it looks kind of like a Quaken, but without the Japanese Tanto at the front.
They make a Fixie Quaken?
Yeah.
Because what I noticed about Bark River, the handle drives the price. They'll all be the same steel, 154, but there's a big variation in handle price. Maybe not here. 292. Let's see if we can find lower than that. 247. But there's probably knives that would perform the same task as well for much, much less. But I've not seen a knife that reminds me of. Now the Quaken it does, but that's a folder, right? Kyle?
The Quaken is both a fixed blade and a folder. Then that was just a design name that's been.
Who
out.
makes it?
I mean, a bunch of people made it. It's just the shape
Quaken,
of it.
so if I go Quaken Fix.
Like Boker makes a Quaken. Todd Begg made a Quaken. I mean, Hoback made a Quaken. A bunch of makers. It's just the name of it. Yeah. Kwaiken.
Amazon just throw fucking knives up at you. They don't have. Do you know anything that would be a comparable knife? Kaiser Quaken, what's that?
Yeah, they all have one similar. Just that shape.
There's a Kaiser Quaken for $57 in Nitro V. But I don't know if that's what you like. The Bark River, I've got one. It's the Micro Canadian, and they're fantastic knives. Here's a Brissa. That's 220.
Craig, a lot of people are starting to move towards it because of it's a better option than cheap stainlesses that other people are using for years because they want to have something in stainless versus something in carbon.
Hi, Meredith. Oh, I know the feeling, buddy. Hey, Kyle, did I tell you I made a members live stream Wednesday morning because I woke up and I was in my comments and I panicked and thought it was Saturday morning because I had a live Tuesday night and just scheduled it haphazardly and then had it. Did a giveaway.
No.
I feel like a total idiot.
Nice.
People are like, did you change it?
Let's see. Hang on. Knife Nut. There's a bunch of different prototypes that are out there floating around. That's one of them. Yes. And Ellis, a lot. One is MagnaCut, one's not.
When you say it, one CPM MagnaCut or MagnaCut.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's one is actual MagnaCut, one's calling it MagnaCut. It very well could be similar makeups because they could have, like I said, looked at it under a spectrometer and reverse engineered it because that's what they do. But the recipe's not going to necessarily be the same, and you're not going to get the same performance out of it. So they can call it whatever they want to call it, but it's not going to be the same.
Plus 10. I've never had a problem with it for the price point, but I know some people complain about it. It's real soft. But for me, even with what I have it most on are cold steels, 80-20 or Simco 20.5s.
I mean, it's fine. The reason why there's a push for better stainless is because for a long time all the good kitchen knives were in carbon, because that was a traditional way of doing them. But people weren't willing to take care of them enough to not rust the carbon, so they are looking towards something to, and more budget wise, they went into cheap stainlesses.
That's awesome, knife nut, and that's just a very valid reason to buy a knife and to have it be special to you because you're, recreating a knife that you once owned years ago. I think that's cool. I still got to get into my dad's safe and find my old bird knife. I think it was a case, a little fixed blade with a leather wrapped stacked handle.
I'm not familiar with that one. Todd, that potentially is the case. I've never seen one put under a spectrometer to know that they're both chemically the same. But yeah, the general synopsis would be they could be potentially the same, but definitely the process isn't the same. So,
Do you understand that question, Kyle?
oh, he's talking knife nut.
Oh, gotcha. See Ron's quote.
Nice. I mean, we say it sucks. It's not ideal. It's not the end of the world, but it's not what it's supposed to be. If that makes sense. I don't want people to think all of a sudden that they're gonna buy it and it's gonna be like cutting with butter, because it's not. I mean, it's still steel, but it's not great. So,
and Craig, I would think if you look at it just objectively, probably bushcraft, depending on how people consider using each of those things. But I would think over the board, bushcraft's going to be the hardest on a knife.
Yeah, and unless you're using it for like a more of a cleaver style where you're just chopping through bones, then yeah, you want something very tough for that too. Mills, I have not 125.
Get ready.
I have done I've done all of those other three. I've done all the Rexes as far as 76, 45, 121.
I'm Googling it now.
S110V I've done. I've done custom S110, which is a different ball game.
Looks just like it.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be up there with all those, but Paul, why?
What did I miss? Hey, Burnt Relic, what's up, brother? What's up, Burnt Relic?
Okay, I'm going to let the cat out of the bag. I know we've talked about it before, and it may not matter to people, but XHP is not a super steel. It is just a step above D2, barely.
It's a tool steel, right?
Got on that hype train about it and thought it was the greatest thing since sliced bread, and it's just a souped up D2. It's nothing high performance. It's not a bad steel, and I'm not saying that you can't like it, but it's just
I've got it on my Shaman. I love it.
Can't be compared to
super steels.
Correct.
What if you match it with the geometry like a Shaman? It still wouldn't be if you had that same Shaman and super steels. They would perform much differently.
When you compare geometry, it's geometry versus geometry. It's not comparing the steels to that. So you're getting one step ahead by trying to add on to the variables.
Nice, Burnt Relic. Louis says stainless D2. Is it stainless? I don't know. I'm learning. Hey, Lucky Dog Knife Co. What is up? What's up, Andrew? You remember Andrew, Kyle? I think you were on the live when he was on.
Yeah. Like I said, XHP is not
I love mine, Aaron. I've got a Spyderco PM2 and a Warncliffen XHP, and I've also got my Shaman XHP. They've both been great, but I don't use them hard or really go out and test them.
That's what I was saying. It's not a bad steel, but neither is custom D2. It's just barely a step above D2.
Good point, Todd. Probably at the time, Todd, it was revolutionary, maybe.
Yeah, I mean it's not bad. It just Paul, you keep your pegs away from me.
You guys just dropping facts.
Yes, Louis. Craig, yeah. I mean, I think that it was a shut up, Bart.
Hey,
The Paul, I don't want. That's the problem. Keep it away. Craig, yeah. I mean, Cold Steel bought so much of it between them and Spyderco that it became a more popular item, but it in today's atmosphere of steels, it's nothing special.
Maddie. Maddie, what did you want to talk about, brother? I'm sure you got something interesting. Is that loud, Kyle?
No, it's decent.
It'd be very backgrounds what I'm going for, but I can't tell.
Yeah, it's like.
Hey, are you proud of me for not playing any sound commercials because I'm so self-conscious now?
I'm glad. Wait a second, Todd. When did you see that? They're actually taking it and importing it to
Taiwan?
Or exporting it to Taiwan, excuse me, because I have not seen that information out there.
There was a stupid comment in the group that I didn't even touch that said, yeah, and such is doing Taiwan. What's the difference?
Oh, I know who that came from then.
I don't remember who it came from, but he's, huh?
Yeah, so I know one person that said that because.
Oh boy, here we go.
Fook, that's what I thought. I thought that it was. Oh, so wait a minute.
We had BS our way through stuff. We're just waiting for stuff to come up to BS through. And usually when I do that, I get in trouble and alienate half of the chat instantly. I don't want to do that. I want it to be a safe place. Oh, I know what I need to do. I need to check and see if let me see if somebody's live that I want to share with you guys.
I forgot that one was Italian, not, but still, I'm surprised that they'd be sending it over there.
Hey, Medford's live. You gonna snipe him?
No.
You know what his title is?
Nope.
Don't care. Nobody cares. I like his lives. It's just what it is.
Mima, what's the price difference?
I'm looking for Carco. Carco X. I hope he didn't die.
Not our Carco.
No, this guy that I've been watching, who YouTube might have banned him. He might have died. Let me pull him up. Hold on. It's Karmic X.
Oh.
Dude, he's grown. Maybe I'm spelling it wrong. Hold on a second.
Mr. Claire, how are you doing, sir?
I'm sharing.
That's what I thought too, Paul.
I want to find one where he's raging out, where he's spurging. I don't want to find one of his sober streams. Here we go. I'm getting close to it. This will just break it up since Maddie says we're doing too much knife content.
I will be right back. I gotta hop off for a second.
All right, buddy. I want to share y'all another streamer that has jumped up to 8,000 subs. He's been streaming almost 24 hours a day, trying to get monetized, getting his watch hours up. I'm gonna stop the music because you got to hear this guy. And I'm worried that he hadn't been live tonight, that maybe he's been banned or he's died. Let's check this out.
I'm grandiose. I ain't gonna lie. My mind is explosion. Never ending explosion.
This guy's the best.
I
one
want
on
to be
YouTube.
president one day of this great United States of America.
He's from
Yeah,
Minnesota.
you heard it from me, folks.
Delusional drunk. It's great.
But I do.
He also has a speed
I care
problem.
about this land. But I do realize that I am in a financial situation.
Let's get
It's publicly available, but it's only for the creep. You know what I mean? Beard, grow some neck hair.
Trying to find him crying or spurging out because he cries too. Hold on.
Am I going too far?
Let me find the weeping stream. Hold on. I know y'all don't care about this. I'm just doing it to prove to Maddie that we can show other weird stuff. Hold on. Let me find the crying stream. It's so classic. Because if you didn't know, this is what a real man does. I think this is it. I think this is the one. He might have pulled it. Let's see.
Electric title really adds something to a name.
So you can start like this, and then start drinking. And these streams are like long as shit. Some are 8 hours.
You buy cigs by the pallet? Nah, I gotta drive, pick
What is
them up,
this?
all that shit. One for, let's see.
Okay, I'm blowing it because I'm not finding any good.
Yeah, I'm just going for a goal,
out.
people. That's why I'm here nonstop. I don't want to be here nonstop.
He's funny as shit,
You
but
know,
anyway.
I'm like, okay, we're two people, so we're they. You know what I mean? No ifs, ands, no political sidewind on it.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share his link. If any of y'all want to just go watch crazy shit sometime, I'm getting off there. But he'll have crying streams. He'll have screaming streams. And if he goes live tonight, we'll check in on him just to make sure he's still alive. Because people worry about him. Most people do, Paul. He's very hateable. But he's got a good heart, I think. I'm a fan.
You watch the weirdest stuff, man.
I do, dude. It comes up to my stream, and I don't, it's just one of those things that I wish I didn't get drawn to it. But his whole thing, and it's kind of a tragic story, but look how many times he's been going live. He's only been doing this for like 2 weeks, but he relapsed. He'd been sober for 7 years, got divorced, relapsed, lost his job, and this is going to be his new job. And he's already grown to 6,000 subscribers, but all he does is streams for 4 hours, 8 hours. Let's just click on
brain rot. And first of all, it's horrible for him.
Oh, it's totally destroying it. And he even says that he's smart enough to know that he's doing this and at his own cost, his own peril. But he says once he gets monetized,
what they want, right?
Yeah, it seems like that's
this is
what.
the one where he cries. Hold on, I think this is it.
I haven't heard of that one. Is it spelt?
You absolutely fool.
Hold on.
Missed his appearance, but I don't.
You know the Big Fun movie, right?
Anyway, the dude's nuts. So Comics X Spurge out. Let me find it. Somebody else has covered it.
Mills. I know we talked about 125 the other day, and I'm glad that came back in stock and finding because that's hard to find. I'm surprised that it just randomly was available, but that's awesome that he found some for you. He sent me a link to it as soon as he found it and bought it. So
yeah, I talked to him today. He was talking about it. He said, guess what I got coming in? And I knew before he told me.
Yeah. And it's super, super thin blade stock. So it's going to be very very slicey.
But won't that make it kind of? I mean, would you want it super thin? I guess for depending on what you're doing with it.
If it's not going to be a hard user, then yeah, because it's not a hard user.
I want to see a redemption arc, but I'm also watching it because you can't look away. It's one of those things I didn't plan to start watching. He was a guest on another show, and then when he goes live, you just never know what you're going to get. It is really entertaining live streams. So where can I go for good knife facts, like quality knife facts? That's one of our poll questions. Kyle. Todd. I was reading Todd. What would you say to Maddie about where to go get good knife?
Well, it depends on what you're looking for, Maddie. Are you looking for just generalized like knife making? You looking for the breakup of how to make something? You looking for the physics behind it? You looking for, the metallurgy? You looking for marketing? Like pick a field and we can try to help guide you.
Any and all.
That I don't have a list directly in front of me as far as every single one again, but pick one we can try to.
I think Craig got it.
What knife is the best for cutting hot dogs? You already have them.
Todd, they're trying to decide what the HRC, or Todd's trying to decide what the HRC for 125V should be.
Probably in the mid to high 60s. I have not seen the spec sheet on that, but it's got to be 65 plus, I would assume.
I go to Google for a lot of things. I know that's always not the best, but then I try to find the source. So it's all about reading multiple sources, like on blade steels. I go to Knife Nerd some.
Ed, your answer to what is ideal for CPM 154 or 154 CM, usually around 61-ish, 61 to 63, but most people are going to do it at 58 to 60.
Maddie, I got the answer for you. I'm just trying to pull it up. Here it is. This is where I would go to get non-biased, straight off the presses.
Here's the thing you have to learn about picking battles is there's always a compromise. So you can't have everything. You can't have
slicey and tough.
Well, yeah, I'm talking about just even a knife in general. You can't have everything be the same. So like, in business, you got price, service, and speed. You can only get 2 of the 3 to meet your standards. If you want something that's super fast, super high quality, and super affordable, then good luck. I mean, you're not going to get it. You can get 2 of the 3, but you can't get 3 of the 3.
There's always going to be something that you have to sacrifice a little bit, is what you're saying.
Correct. And even like with steels, it's the same way. You're going to get, false, Marty. That is the wrong answer as well, too. It's a good knife, but it's not perfect because nothing is perfect, especially in that price point.
Especially not the Elementum. That was the most overhyped knife that I bought when I was just new in the game.
I don't think it's a horrible knife, but I don't think it's
horrible.
It's nothing special. There are better $40 knives out there.
But like when it was marketed as great by everybody, I didn't find it great. I've got a video. It's one of my few videos that's not positive.
Yeah.
Yes. My answer to that would be yes.
Ed, that's what I'm just going to highlight. Ed, That is within the range of what you're going to see from most companies.
You kind of broke up there at the end. Did you say for most companies?
Yeah, that's going to be the range for most companies. It's not anything special, but it's not the worst. So,
and where were we talking about that a lot of companies use the same heat treat facilities in different places? Like China might send all their blades to one or two heat treating places.
right,
We don't
it's
know
the same
that.
as, I mean, a lot of companies that are doing stuff here will use peaters. They'll use the regular, like they were, everyone said Boss was the best heat treating for a while. It's like they all use the same recipes and then just decide what they want. If you're not doing in-house heat treating, it's all going to be basically the same.
Right. Paul, what's the custom nugs? Yeah, Edgy works at his heat treats, and he's standing there beside the oven, and
Right.
he's testing them. So
That's what he's
that's
doing all
not
day today.
Yeah, that's what he said. He said he was spending all day down there.
What he's going to do for that, I'm sure, is he's going to talk to more than likely Brian, because Brian's worked with it before, and he'll get the recipe from him.
I love the collaboration that goes into an Edgy Blade Works knife. Oh, the customized Civivi nugs. Yes, great. The nugs is a great knife. That's what I was wondering if you were talking about. The only problem I have with Civivi is they make too much stuff. Like they're just opportunists. They're putting too much out there. They put great designs out there, but they also, like everybody, just put stuff. Oh, dude, I appreciate it, man. I totally missed it. But I know what we're talking about. That's what we were talking about earlier. I always say, I said it when I was in digital marketing, because all the salespeople that worked under me would introduce me as an expert. And there is no such thing as an expert. Things change. And if you think you're an expert, that just means you're not learning anymore.
Yeah, I mean, there are very few subject matter experts. And if they are, they're few and far between.
Oh, Maddie, there's so many, and I won't call any out by name, but I know some who openly talk in their little discords and stuff about what their goal is. It's not to give objective opinions on what they think about knives as much as it is to partner kind of as a, influencer marketing is called that for a reason. I don't like the word influencer, but it's on every ad agency's all carte to sheet. If you want influencer marketing, it's there. Hey, I'll tell y'all something interesting.
It's so cringy and disgusting that the fact
Tell you
that
what's
we allow
cringy.
people to be influencers.
I got an email the other day, and I asked the question. Nobody's gotten back to me. Have y'all ever heard of? Let me pull it up.
Thanks, Mimo.
H data. I researched this company after I got the email. Then she sent me another email, and I'm actually. That's not it. Let me go to the email. Anyway, I got reached out by a digital marketing company, and I'm a digital marketer, right? So her whole thing was, we want to monetize the data that your videos have collected in your existing library. And I was like thinking, because I know how data marketing is very popular right now because it's all anonymized, but I don't understand how they're going to utilize it. And then she gave me a number based on the number of videos I've got, because I've got a ton of videos out there. Most of them are short. But evidently, when people watch them, they're leaving little snippets of data that talk about what other stuff they looked at. To me, it was bizarre.
Basically snagging off their algorithm to derive more information.
Well, it's just trying to build, I think it's building audiences, trying to build audiences in different sectors. Like they're working with, I'm sure, all different sectors, like tech sector. Her name's Paige. Let me tell you what it said. Trying to find the name of the company. RHEI. All right. So I read up on it. It's an interesting company. And the reason I'm taking the call is to see if they're hiring. I mean, it sounds like the perfect place for me to check this out. This is what they do. And they're reaching out to creators. I get all kinds of weird emails. And that's why before I even. And it's just talking about, and I know from being in digital media that the most important commodity that you can have is data. Like Kroger, when they collect, when you got a Kroger card or a CVS card or something like that, you're sharing first party data every time you buy it. So basically, you might get a discount, but the retailer's getting a list of what your buying habits are. So they can market to you effectively based on what you buy or products like what you buy if they want to try to steer you in that route. So I'm taking it just to hear what her story is. But
another insight, if you want to get crazy into that rabbit hole, is so like the grocery stores, why they end up changing up their displays all the time is they watch patterns with the carts as far as how they travel up and down the aisles, and they'll use different things for end caps. So they'll see everyone going through one area to buy something that's the highest traffic. They'll start moving their highest product or margin products to those areas to gain more. And that otherwise you'll spend more time in the store looking for what you want, potentially buying more as well too. Because
there's actually a scam going around doing that, where they get access to your account. That's why there are a lot of questions I have for her before I'm not considering monetizing the data in my video library because I'm not giving anybody access to my YouTube. But I'm curious what they're doing marketing wise and if they need to hire me for like 80 to 100 grand a year. That's the reason that I'm taking the call. But so much is going on out there. That Carmack guy that I was telling you about, his background is in, there's a whole genre of people who do erotic AI generated art. So he's an AI musician where he writes lyrics and his collaborators are these AI people. The music he plays on his live streams are bizarre, but people are asking for the downloads. Where can we buy this download? It's bizarre shit, man. I mean, there's an audience for every weirdo out there. And the reason I threw out on that was not only is data becoming a big thing, but AI is huge. And people say, it's here.
It needs to be limited as much as possible.
I agree. At least it needs to be disclosed. I was going to try to find.
What happened to all of our hard-hitting questions?
Let's see. They're out there. Let's see. 4 times. They're talking. Paul's not worried about what Edgy's going to do with his 125. I was going up a little higher. Matt Yako's throwing some Kroger facts out there. But yeah, they watch traffic patterns, right? Kyle, for merchandising, when you're talking about where you...
Yeah, 100%. There for a while, there was they had a friend that worked for him, but they had a beta program where they were putting GPS on the carts to track throughout the store, so that way they didn't have to rely on the camera so much and being able to see where things are going. So,
Maddie, Javon don't read chat. Javon don't read comments much. Javon don't know how to live stream. Javon is a hack, but I'm an admitted hack. But I'm the fucking goat of all hacks. Don't forget it. Yeah, the computer watches all, and I've got smart appliances. I'm giving all kinds of data away, and I'm not getting paid for it. That's the other thing. You know, you can get apps, or you can go tell people they can't use your data, but you've got to seek them out. Because pretty much every terms of service, every app that you use is telling you it's going to collect your data. And the only one that's terrifying is TikTok's terms of service, which is why I don't have a TikTok account. And knife influencers are loving TikTok right now.
That's because it's freaking brain rot, and they do anything they can to get paid off of it, but without any morals of looking into what's going into that.
One Moon, that is so true. I call them clout goblins, and I've witnessed it. I've witnessed some weird stuff. Satisfaction's been a member for 24 months. Guess what that means? Plug
Absolutely,
your ears.
One Moon.
Plug your ears. Plug your ears. Let's see. Tell me how loud this is. Is it loud?
That's about a 3.5 out of 10.
How about this?
That's tolerable.
So I've been able to make it quieter than it was before.
Yes.
Okay, that's all I was asked for.
Shut
I
up,
think
Marty.
I figured it out. See, I don't even know how to work my soundboard.
Mimo. 177 to 260. That's a pretty hefty jump, but that's not her. I mean, that's pretty bad. I mean, if it was $30 to $40, I would be good with it. So do what?
I was just saying, hey to Lord Needham. He said that was an awkward time to arrive.
Shut up, Needham.
You know, Mad Yako, what's interesting about that is my mom is either 79 or 80. She spends a lot of time on Facebook. She has a cat. So she's getting marketed to a lot because she likes videos. But she buys a lot of shit off Facebook. And I tell her not to, but she does. And she hadn't been screwed. She hasn't been dissatisfied with a purchase. But she comes to me with all these cat facts, which half of them are just whatever is being thrown her way trying to sell her something. So social media is unique. Lately, 2 years ago, it was advertising kryptonite because you could target people so deeply based on their likes, what they watched. You can't do that anymore. You can only target based on sex, age, income bracket, things like that, where you used to could get down to their individual interests, what content they like to read. So your ad would appear on that type of content. But we are enslaved by our computers. And I think TikTok, Instagram, some of those are the worst. Well, the worst is probably X, because I'll get on there quite a bit. And there's always, I mean, to me, it's just like a death gallery. I don't know if it's because that's what my feed is.
Later, Louie. I'll get a hold of you, buddy. Sorry I didn't get to you today. I was swamped.
Have y'all ever been to Midway for cold steel gear?
Yeah, but we still got to go back up. I was on Marty's question because he put that mile marker in there and wanted to ask a question.
Did you find it?
Yeah, I clicked on it. So, Marty, what's it going to be used for? Because that makes a difference as well, too.
Wouldn't most thin ones be used for slicing? Or is that too broad?
I'm talking, yeah, that's broad. I mean, I was like, we're talking about for EDC, we're talking about for kitchen. I mean,
cutting hot dogs. Maddie, expand on your question.
Give me a little bit, buddy. I'm
cutting cardboard, cutting sandwiches.
Something with stability, something with a little bit of
slicing and cutting food.
That could be pretty much anything that has some stability to it. So some of your carbon steels, that's what like the old-fashioned chef's knives are made of. The blues, the whites, any of the Hitachis. I'm talking about the fancier carbon steels, not just the junk stuff. Any of your baseline 14C range, your MagnaCut lines, your
Nitro V.
Yeah, that's the 14C range. Any of that stuff will work well because it can take a keen edge. It can take something, hell, even crew wear if you're careful with it as far as cleaning it off. But it can still be ground thin and maintain toughness. So
it's good, probably balanced all around steel for that type of stuff. Lord, I've got a slip joint in my pocket, but I've not been passionately seeking slip joints. Even though traditional pocket knives, I guess GEC had a big drop today. I'm sure went away in about 3 minutes.
Martin, did that answer your question thoroughly enough?
Maddie. I think Maddie probably just asked it as a troll, but let's see what he says.
Oh, he 100% did.
Evening, Rick.
What's up, Rick?
M4 Swift is an awesome Chinese knife. Don't doubt it. What is the Swift?
Mimo is 100% correct. I'm not sure what the Swift
I'm
is.
Googling it. I've been happy with all my ways. Again, my hike's taking me different places, and now I'm more focused on USA made knives. I don't know why.
Read that.
I still like, for example, the Concept Tipper. I think is a great knife. Probably my knife of the year, and it's so weird that most people wouldn't even like the look of it. But I think Concept did a great job on bringing a sub $200 knife that most people aren't going to be able to get for $1,000. I've never tried one, Paul, but I hear it's great.
Did you see the comment I had up there for you to read from Emo's comment? Here, I'll highlight for you. There you go. Read that.
That is true. That is absolutely true.
And Todd, yes. So the finer grain structure would be better on that. Now, if you're using it for something more rough, then I would say the 154, but it's not going to make that huge of a difference between the two of those. Especially depending
upon. That
does
make weeing very painful. Night Lord Needham, thanks for stopping by, buddy. Yeah, you should also see the brutal trolling that goes on in these podcasts. I won't comment in there because these people are the type of people that'll go and try to just fuck your life up. I mean, they're bizarre people, and usually they're in their 50s or 60s. Where's that guy's?
Don't subject us to watching that, dude. More, please.
I'm just trying to find to see if he's live, because if he's live, that just means he's in to a half gallon of Crown and he's dropping some truth. His truth, as he puts it. This is my truth.
Right there tells me I won't like him if he uses that phrase.
Dude, it's such must-see TV because you won't agree with anything he says, but that's not the point of it. The point of it is the fact, like he says, nobody's willing to get out there and share their mind. And people are like, dude, if you try to get another job, the first thing they're going to do is goo you. You're fucked. Stuff like that. Comments like that, because he's putting out so much content that any employer that Googles him is going to be like, no. This guy's got issues. And he's not live. I'm afraid he got arrested or something.
Maybe it'll do him good.
Yeah. Well, he said, his whole thing was when he got monetized, he was going to go back to not drinking. We'll see. If he makes it that
to me,
long.
That is a very shitty thing to do to people, is to say that you broke your sobriety, you're on this, and if you get monetized, you will quit. You go back to being sober. That is a horrible thing to do.
He didn't do it like that. Somebody in the chat early on triggered him to try to, and this guy that has come back and said he feels terrible about it because he's evidently got like 20 years sobriety, which is a totally shitty thing to do. But now that he's drinking again, he knows that it's bringing in viewers, and he's like, he's not trying to get the subs. He's got the subs. He's just trying to get his watch hours. That's why he streams all the time. And what's bad is YouTube is going in once you try to get monetized and they look at your content to see if it's advertiser friendly, if it's monetizable. And so much of his stuff is absolute violations of YouTube policy that I'm afraid that once he does get those hours, that he's going to get his channel shut down instead of getting monetized.
Yeah, that's just, I don't know, that kind of rubbed me the wrong way.
Oh yeah, because and I can totally see why. But if you see him in one of his crying moments and just see how different he is, that's why he draws such a. Well, he gets probably 250 people in his lives just because people are like, "What the hell is he going to do next?" It's like watching a train wreck, and it's brain rot. It's absolute brain rot, and somehow I've fallen into it because usually when he goes live late, and I'm up late usually. But no, there's no
Kathleen, 100%.
Kathleen, I totally agree. I totally agree. And I don't watch it much. Ryan, I hate the story.
We've tried, but he won't listen.
Hey guys, we all take our little weird paths. I've gone down several rabbit holes since I've been a YouTuber. That's all I really watch is YouTube. There's all kinds of weird stuff. Thanks, Sierra Rick. That one is the only one I've really customized out. When I say customized out, put custom hardware on it. Kyle Coonley's got the coolest Eclipse I've ever seen. He probably doesn't have it closer, do you?
I do not, actually. It's on my bedside.
Me too, Ryan. I've got I'm closing in on 10 this May, so I get you. And the guy that I didn't know that a guy triggered him until I saw it in one of the people that cover him, and he was just feeling terrible about it because he didn't think the guy would do it. But anyway, you don't mess with people that are dealing with addiction, especially somebody that's in obvious trauma, which you can tell this guy's dealing with a lot of life issues just by his, and it could be mental.
Yeah, but he's still got to do it himself and want himself. I hit 23 a little over a month ago, so
congratulations, dude.
Well, I don't really care. I mean, now it's just a way of life. It doesn't even, it's not tempting. It doesn't bother me. But just when people use that as a crutch or use that as something that pisses me off.
Me too. Because again, to me, it's a choice. That's the only thing I didn't agree. Because I went through the whole. I'm still active in my AA chapter. I'm available to talk to people, and I go down a couple times a year at least. But I used to go 3 times a week to the same group.
Mimo,
I got a lot out of it. Huh?
I was asking Mimo what he was talking about. It's an S45. Magna cut.
Probably for his favorite stainless choices, maybe.
Paul's question.
Paul's question.
I didn't see Paul's question. Sorry, I missed it, Paul. I would say Mimo's probably right. S45 Magna cut. For non-stainless, it's not an all-around steel. It's not decent in all categories, but I do like. There's not a lot in the super carbons that are all-arounders. Crewware is probably the closest. Your 3Bs, your 4Bs, those are okay, but again, in the Rex 45s, I like Rex 45 a lot, but it's not an all-around steel. It's more similar to Crewware than it is your Rex 76s, your 121s, the things that are just designed to be slicers. But it comes down to what I want it for. So an all-around, I would pick S45, Magna Cut, and Crewware, probably my top 3. If I wanted something with more edge retention, I would probably step up to Magna Cut's up there. But I would step up to something like now again, we're talking production. I would say stainless, probably S90 if it's done well. But it's not an all-around steel. It's more for edge retention.
I agree, Ryan.
And then
but a lot of people don't. And Paul Mike, that's 100% true. And I would argue with my sponsor, or we debate, I guess you'd say, because I'm also prescribed some mental health drugs, one of which they don't really like, but I don't really subscribe to everything. I just know it was a problem for me, what was kind of derailing my life. And then I also am a big believer that sobriety is overrated. So I find things to take the edge off that don't lead me down darker paths, right? But it's different for everybody. And I totally am. I did 6 years without being what I consider California sober. And then it just got to be too much.
See, I'm
But
more
yeah,
of a
it's
stickler.
I value anybody that takes that path and however they feel it. But Ryan was saying that he thinks Magna Cut's the best all around. I agree with that.
That's what it was designed to be. Yeah, Matt, that's what it was designed to be. And if you step down 1 or 2 steps, then you're looking at one step. Then you're looking at S45 for an all-around steel.
And
It's
see,
not
that's
great
one
at
of my.
anything, but there's.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say it's not the best at anything, but it's going to be good all
Paul,
around.
that was my biggest demon. And when I kicked those, and then I realized that I was drinking a whole lot, and when I would drink, it would take me to places I didn't want to go, and it was close. The reason I went to AA was because my marriage counselor at the time suggested it, and I realized that for me, alcohol was kind of the thing that I didn't always get in trouble when I was drinking, but every time I would do stupid shit like buy 8 balls at midnight and go back and buy pills, I was always drinking. So when I quit that, it made me be able to kind of get my life a little bit more in order. I'm just trying to get better tomorrow than I was today. It's a one day at a time thing. Well, she is.
Craig, if you only care about corrosion resistance and toughness, then your Nitro V 14C families. You're not going to get a tougher stainless steel than that. If you're looking for a combination of that plus having edge retention, then looking at something like a Magna Cut probably.
Van X was one of the most stainless.
Yeah, but it doesn't do well on toughness or
edge retention.
Edge retention that well. I mean, it does okay, but it's not phenomenal by any means. And what I also take into account too, what people don't think about is, the old argument of carbon versus and getting into super steels, of how ease of sharpening, right? The ability to strop back a knife makes a big difference as far as the edge retention. So if that edge starts to go dull and you can strop it right back with just 2 or 3 passes and it pops right back to life, then that still to me is part of the original sharpness of that knife. It doesn't need to be sharpened. It just needs to be touched up. A lot of these super steels, they don't like to touch up very easily. 14C comes back in a heartbeat, but some of these super steels is you have to hone it or go into a full sharpening to get that sharp edge back. So that's why I think 14C is highly underrated. Now, granted, are there other steels out there better? 100%. I praise it a lot, but it's not because I think it's the best steel. It's just that it's very good for what it is. Yeah, Craig Vincent. Nitro V and 14C are some of the toughest steels you can get. Especially, and they're for stainless. I don't know much that's even tougher. I think that's pretty much the tippy top as far as what you can get for toughness out of a stainless. Paul, yeah, I mean Van X is good, but it's not great at anything. Mimo, yes, 100%.
Thanks, Sierra Rick. You're welcome here anytime, buddy.
When people didn't have ability to sharpen or still don't know how to sharpen with non modern stones, then yeah, things were harder to sharpen. But the ability now is there shouldn't be an excuse. Anybody can do it if they learn. But yeah, the
in One Moon, that's great, buddy. And I don't believe that relapse, even temporary, is a failure, right? It's just you're on a path to be better. So never beat yourself up for slips.
no, but that's what I disagree with you, Javon, on one thing is saying it's overrated, because I think once you make that jump to that choice, then that should be a lifelong choice.
Correct. And for me, the jump to the choice was because what people don't realize is the substances that I still sometimes take, because of my, I guess you'd call it the way my brain's wired, they don't cause me to be as reckless or as loose or have any of the downsides that alcohol had. My journey was to rid myself of alcohol and anything that controlled me. And sobriety, complete sobriety, was the way that I was initiated into that with AA, and it stuck for 6 years. I just made some my personal, which I don't, expect people to agree with it, but for me, it works, or it works now.
Yeah, I to me it was a all or nothing, and it was a choice that once I made that choice, I look back on it and think how silly the rest of it was, and I'm never going back to that. I don't necessarily look down or judge people who do, but I definitely don't see any benefit in it. So
there's not any benefits, but what I see so many times is when people come in and get a white chip, which is fine to do that because they're back trying to figure out where they went wrong. And I know I've seen a lot of people lose their sobriety with alcohol in the meetings that I go to that were sober a lot longer than me. And, they come back the next day, they realize it. And I know people who've gone out and never come back, right? And something terrible happened. So yeah, most times relapse is going to come back harder, and it can either be fatal or get you arrested. But I see a lot of people that come in, beat themselves up. But yeah, I mean, as long as you realize that you've stepped out and you're continuing to try to find that way, everybody, it doesn't take the first time, I guess is what I'm saying. For me, it did with alcohol. I didn't plan for it to. I think I've told the story that I still have a couple of Wicked Ales in my mom's refrigerator because I was living with her at the time. I recently was separated. That's awesome, Mad Yako.
The only thing I would say to that is I don't think putting yourself in proximity to temptation is ever a good thing. So to me, it's an all or nothing. I don't think that anyone should put that on themselves to say, oh, well, I had an issue with this. Let me only do it occasionally. I think.
No, I agree. I don't think you can ever go back to be a social drinker. But for me, the substances, first of all, Alabama made a law change. And then I was thinking, I even talked to my psychiatrist about it, and he can't do anything with it yet because it hasn't been legal. He wouldn't be the one to be able to prescribe it anyway. But it's not something that, for a lot of people, it makes them just not do anything. For me, it calms my anxiety a little bit. And I think it's better than the Klonopin that they prescribe me, that I try not to take at all. But it's just, it's just a personal choice, and it's not alcohol. For me, I'll never go back to alcohol again. And when I was dating, I'd been sober about 4 years, and she liked to go to bars, this one cigar bar, and I would go because I wasn't tempted. I would just get ginger ale and always carry a glass of ginger ale, not set it down. But I never felt tempted once I got probably 2 or 3 weeks in and realized that it was going to stick, that I was going to adopt that lifestyle. I stuck with it as far as alcohol goes, and pills for that matter, which was my biggie. But I'd quit them long before, a year, maybe 6 months before I realized I had a deeper problem.
Yeah, I mean, I'm that type of person that I go hard on something. So if I want to learn about something or I want to change, then it's all or nothing. So like, for me, alcohol was the same way. Sobriety.
And that's the way it should be.
Never again. Like to the point where like I seek out, I won't eat any. I know that it cooks out of food, but I don't like food that has even been touched by a drop of alcohol.
Congratulations, Neil.
I don't mouthwash. It has to be alcohol free based. Like I don't have anything. Not that would ever affect me, but it's a mental thing that I don't want anything involved with that. So it's free and clear in my life.
Yeah, that was a big problem I had because I don't keep it anywhere around or anything that has it in it, just for basic. I don't want it around. But when I had a roommate for a while, he drank all the time and would leave shit around, and it didn't trigger me, but it pissed me off.
Right.
It was just another thing.
Yep.
I don't drink anything that has even trace amounts in it because, again, I don't ever want to feel the way I was feeling when I was drinking. And I think that's enough to keep me from going back now that I've made the jump, but I don't want anything that might slowly lead me back, because addiction will play tricks on your brain and tell you that you're fine now.
Well, to me, it's like the idea of if you have that in you and you can become addicted to something, to be able to tempt yourself or feed the potential to ever go back to that is asinine. So why would you allow yourself to, I can have one here and there. I can have this there and there, because that's going to be a slippery slope, and that's going to
for anyone with an addiction, that's going to be a problem. I agree, because for me, a lot of what's kept me from thinking I could do that is breaking my chain of sobriety. So I totally get that. I'm not saying that at all. All I'm saying is, what would lead you to go to a bar? For me, it was a chick that wanted to go.
Well, I'm not saying you can't be around people that do it, but I'm saying don't put yourself in positions that, especially early on, that are tempting like that. But
I agree, and I don't think you should go to places that serve alcohol. I think she was kind of selfish to want to do that, even though I let her know that it was fine, right?
Correct. But when people get further into it and like, I've got it under control, I can have one or two here and there. It's like, no, you just need to stay the hell away from this stuff. Like,
yeah, exactly. Why would you want to go back and have one or two at any given time? See, I don't even have that fantasy.
That's why I think it's super important to, if you're going to do it, commit fully all the way for life. And, I know Neil's got a long time in. He's probably one of the longest I know of besides myself.
Crazy Roach.
And
come by tomorrow if you can, buddy, for just a sec.
Mad respect, because it just, to me, it wasn't hard once we got past like the first initial, damn it, Mimo. Once we got past the first initial phase, then it became more of a lifestyle choice than an addiction issue.
Yeah, I think you realize that if I don't drink today, I've got a better chance not to drink tomorrow. And then after a few of those, you think, wow, I've got 30 days.
Well, then you're 4 or 5, 6 months in, you look around at how people act on it, and you're like, what the hell was I thinking? Like, that's just stupid. Like,
there's nothing worse than being around a group of them. Well, I guess there is. If they're yacked on booger sugar too, it makes it worse.
Well, I just meant in general. If someone is not in their natural state, then it's like, no, why would anyone want this life? I
can remember waking up. I worked through all of it, but just feeling like I'd been eaten by a wolf and shit off a cliff and having a full day ahead of me. And it was just, I just learned to live like that, right? And then wait till 5 o'clock or whenever. Yes. Neil, I agree. And it's a personal choice too. I mean, I know a lot of people who could benefit from it, but unless the person is looking for ways to curb their behavior, nothing intervention wise is going to be effective, I don't think. It could be. I mean, it could if somebody gets a little sobriety behind them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and 1 million, that's the worst. Those aren't real friends.
Right.
Bluminati, what's up, brother? Ron Crow, what's up?
What's up, Bloomy?
That's the funny thing. My sponsor was the one that told me about the Indian pharmacies that would save me about $70 per boner.
Can we not go into that again?
Yeah, we're not.
Okay.
I'm just saying there's some good drugs.
I've gotten to the point when I try to steer clear of anything that will be mind altering.
And that's commendable. I totally agree with that.
I'm not perfect, but I mean, like, as far as like, I don't take in any caffeine anymore. I haven't been on caffeine forever. I've been cigarette free for a long time. Let's see, caffeine's probably 16 or 17 years now, and cigarettes is 12, 13 years. So like, once I do something, I'm done. Like, I'm still, my vice is nicotine, but it's pure nicotine now. It's not with all the other
tobacco with all the side effects or all the extra chemicals when you burn it.
Correct. Carcinogens.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's 100% commendable. It absolutely is.
And I love coffee too. I still drink coffee, but I obviously have to have decaf. But it's hard to find good decaf.
See, and I could be addicted to my depression meds and my ADHD meds because when I wake up 100% sober, I don't feel clear-headed. I don't feel, because I'm dealing with lack of SSRI, which is probably just the chemical companies telling me I need it, or my psychiatrist. But I have to take my medicine. I usually take it at 5:30 or 6 in the morning to feel normal, which is sad, but it's true. But that's why they put me on medicine in the first place. And I didn't find out that I had the issues that I have until I got sober.
Ryan, I'm the same way. The most I'll take ever, like, I had some dental surgery, and the most that I took for that was, it's like an ibuprofen 800 or something like that. But I don't like taking medicine at all if I don't have to.
And there's nothing wrong with that, Ron. What's funny is my mom's German and she's a big drinker and she's on the carnivore diet. So she quit this cold turkey. And I was wondering if she's going to have any kind of symptoms because she drinks all the time. She also plays tennis 4 times a week and she has an active lifestyle. But she had and she still hasn't had a drink in now over 3 weeks. But she doesn't have tremors. She doesn't have the things that I would think with the amount of alcohol she drinks. But she's been doing it for years and years and years. And maybe it's just not I would have thought she would at least felt shaky or shitty. But she just jumps right through it.
Dude, it's amazing. So, like, one of my buddies, back in that time frame when I was still playing competitively and drinking
and reckless.
Yeah, that was just a customary thing. Like, you get done and you just basically go drink until dark, and then you wake up and go again. And one of my buddies was so bad, like, he used to travel all over the world and play. He was playing like South American tour, Asian tour, all these places. And we would go play on like a weekend if he was back in town. And if we had an early tee time, he would have DTs. He would have the shakes. He would hit 17 greens and shoot 71 because he couldn't putt because his hands were shaking until he got a drink in him.
I wonder what point, like, what's the difference in intake that gets you to that point? Because I've seen people that are like that too. And I would have really thought that my mom would have had more problems, but she's, been able to step away from it temporarily. Now she has no desire to quit altogether.
Okay, so here's a funny story. The the final round of the British Open when John Daly won. At that time, he was such a raging alcoholic that to calm his nerves before he teed off that Sunday morning, or Sunday. Well, I don't know if it was morning. It was morning for us because it was, anyways, time difference. But before he teed off, he had chugged a fifth of Jack to be able to calm himself because he could not handle going out there and playing without any alcohol in the system.
It would make most of us black out drunk that much.
Correct. That he needed that to be able to calm himself, to be able to go out and compete. And he went out and won. And sad, but I mean, he talks about it. And that was, if he didn't have that, he probably would have absolutely shit the bed and shot 80 or something. I mean, that, and no one's condoning that, but it's sad how some people get into that state.
I do agree that there is some personal choice in taking the first drink or deciding to, but I do think some people don't have a stop button like I didn't. And luckily I had responsibilities that gave me those bouts of sobriety or those time frames of the day when I was sober. But I could see how it could be, just totally incapacitating and come on you pretty quick if you didn't drink till, let's say you were 40 and you had your first drink then. There's no guarantee that you're not going to be more susceptible to the way you like that it feels.
Yeah. Yeah. The culture that was around what I was in was just a drinking culture, that it was solely like, that was what you did for leisure. That's what you did for normal. Like I had a boss that would constantly, he had a white styrofoam cup he used to walk around every day in. It was the same ones that were at the water fountain. And people just thought he was drinking water all day long, but it was, if he ever went near it, it was just full of vodka.
Because he had to keep his blood level from...
And that was all day, every day. And that was always had it in there. And it's just like, you don't think about it until you're away from it. And you're like, holy shit. Like that was just wild.
Well, I mean, it's not very different than when I was addicted to opiates. I couldn't work without them. I mean, the only time people might perceive that I had a problem was if I was low on them. And I had to call in sick sometimes when I didn't have them because I couldn't function. That was a horrible, and that's why I don't see, I know heroin's got to be worse, but to go through and get off that, to make the decision to go back to it, I just don't understand that. Like people that get locked up, if they do get sober in jail, come out and then use again. Because going through it was hell.
That's more mental than anything at that point.
Yeah, but to me, it was just, and I don't have a very strong mental fortitude, so to speak, but it was just the fear or the reluctance to ever go through that shit again that keeps me away.
Yeah.
Yeah, Craig.
What do you want to talk about, Mills? Talk about something then, buddy. Pick one of the questions that we had set up.
We're still at 42%. Most people are wanting, to vent about knives or the knife companies or knife reviewers or just knife stuff, knife politics, knife perspectives. I think everybody's got perspectives on YouTube. And if you watch, because I don't watch a lot of content, but I've watched content from time to time from people that I used to watch content, and you can tell huge changes in the way the content's presented. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I'm just saying that I would think most people that are watching content can kind of tell if it's more of a pitch or a review.
All right, I got a question for the chat.
Go ahead.
What is a knife company that you either hated or still hate, but as you've grown, you've changed your mind or opinion on the brand to some level? And I'll give you an example from mine. Like early on, I used to give so much shit and I hated on Hinders because of his stubbornness and how he did his steel. But then he switched and went to S45 and has done it fairly well. And now I absolutely adore them as long as they're an S45, but I still hate the fact that he does anything else, that he's still doing 20 CV for DLT, or he's still dropping MagnaCut occasionally. Even if he's raised it, I still don't trust it. And I wish more people would have gotten over that.
When that happened?
Yeah, I mean, more people would have gotten over the fact that, yeah, he did change some, but he's still going to have that hang over his head. So, yeah, Maddie, I was the same way. I didn't like Spyderco's either. Well,
Mine was Kershaw. I was because I'd always had Kershaw's, because I thought assisteds were the only way to go. When I discovered actions, I quit even considering Kershaw's and didn't even think about what kind of knife they might make. Because I always loved my assisted Kershaw's. I had a Chive, a Mini Mojito, which was one of their first assisteds, and then a Blur. Congratulations, Henry G. The Smock's a great design. Some people hate it. I love it. It's one of my favorites, like I said. And it's one that down the road you might put scales on. I don't know what the crew wares come with, but I'm not a hole in knife guy. Yeah, they look like Pelicans. They're just ugly knives, but they're all so purpose built for the task at hand, right?
Yep.
But for me, I mean, there were so many knives. I'm not even talking about fixed blades and slippies, but like Strider's one that I never had any desire for, thought they were ugly. And had it not been for me buying that Grow, and then I went through 2 Protex that I still have Striders, and then bought one, and I appreciate the design. And I had a lot of people comment because I just did a video on it about, theirs just was so problem ridden that they finally got rid of it. And I know a lot of people are like that. Mine came with horrible lock stick, but it worked out perfectly. And now it's one of the smoother washer knives I've got in my collection. Oh, yeah, I do have it.
Right.
I mean, it's on washers, but it's still pretty drop shut and has no stick. But it's a newer Strider. I don't know. I'm sure I've never heard about them being very consistent. But for me, a PM2 is every bit the knife. Maybe not as prying tough, but in terms of a cutting tool, it's a lot less expensive. Yeah, the Smock's unique, One Moon, just because of the deep hollow grind and to me the action. I took the second detent out of mine.
Not to me,
Got
it's a
2
must.
detents.
Yeah, it's a must. Taking the second one out. I like the Smock. The only thing I wish is it had a little bit. I know I have to actually study more if it actually needs that much finger choil, or if it was a little bit smaller. I think it would be better because it's such a waste of blade. But I
It
really,
has a lot to do with the lockup because I remember
Right.
somebody.
but there are other ways that you can still achieve that. I just don't know if all of that is needed. I'd have to look into it, but that's the only thing that gets me is that when you look at it, is the blade to handle ratio. But I love the knife. I think they're great. And I'm glad they started doing them at other steels because the Crewware is a great addition. Sierra Rick, yeah, I'm not a huge fan in general because I'm not a crossbar lock fan, and I thought that price point on that was just asinine. If you could have got that in the 3 to 4 range, I think it would have been a decent buy. But at your 550, I think that's insane. And I don't like the way it felt in hand. But everyone's different. So
I was talking to the guy at Knives and More, and then I talked to Marco Scamma, and he had a totally different experience. But we were talking about Benchmade and the Benchmade butterfly tacks, and he was talking about, because he's been selling them forever, but he says he's had people come in with knives that have been abused and destroyed, and Benchmade, every time he can remember when he sent it in, has replaced it. So there is something maybe to be said for a lifetime warranty if that's important to you. And I've heard again from Marcos that he sent him allegedly 2 knives, and Benchmade claims they never got them and didn't do anything about it.
That sucks.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't discredit the quality or that they make a good American product, and I respect that. But and this actual lock system is tough, but I just don't like the feeling of them, so I stay clear of them. And I don't like their Gribery or FRN, whatever you want to call it. Same as I hate the Spyderco FRN too. I think it just feels cheap on a well done blade.
What I kind of fault them for is as many people since the bar lock or access lock lost its patent or whatever. I've dealt with so many that feel so much better, and the fact that Spyderco's had that all along and never really improved on it. You know, like I think the Ritter Hogue is much snappier and feels so much better just because of the hardware they use, and that it's a little bit beefier liners than Benchmade uses. Just a few minor improvements. It seems like Benchmade at some point would have evolved that since it was their baby. But I guess if it works, why evolve it, right?
If it's not broke, don't fix it. That's kind of
That's the biggie, Ed.
Okay, I'll give you the secret to this, and I know it's different for everybody, but it is your goal for this hobby shouldn't be to get all the grails. It should be to get to a point where you're content.
Very good point. Like where you've got a knife that suits the needs of your.
I rarely look at purchasing anymore. I don't have the desire to go out and look for anything. It's about, am I happy with what I've got? Do I need anything else? And can I be content? I don't need anything. I don't necessarily want anything. Sure, there are things that out there I think are gorgeous and I would love to have, but I don't see the value in buying it.
Right.
So I'm content with where I'm at, and that's so much happier. I mean, it's so much better feeling than where I was 2 years ago, where I wanted to buy everything that came out because I was told it was the best thing ever.
And you had fear of missing out because that was instilled, whether it was subconsciously or accidentally. I mean, that's how I felt about drops or pre-orders. If I don't get it now, I won't get it. Then I learned.
Then you weren't meant to have it.
Yeah, but then I learned on most of the drops or pre-orders, if I waited, I'd still be able to get it.
All right. So, or wait for it to come around on secondary or whatever. And that exactly. I will say that's the great thing that I have learned and I have become more content is because of doing the sharpening business, is getting so many to come through my hands and seeing what I like and don't like. And that I don't need half of what I think is cool or what half I think is good, is because it's like, it's okay, but I don't necessarily have to have it. So
yeah, I came to a point, and I think it was when I lost my job that I realized and started going through my collection. Like towards the end, I would say, well, that's a great knife, but I've got 2 knives that fit that same basic need, right? Or that same basic profile.
Right.
And I've realized that I've got everything I need. I mean, yeah, I'd still like to get a couple of knives just for the collection, but there's nothing that I'm in a rush for or that I don't think will be around. If it's worth having, it'll still be around when I am able to get it.
Right.
Is the way I look at it.
Get what you want and the best that you can afford and be happy with what you have. And you will actually start to see your desire for purchasing go down. And it makes you more content with what you have.
It's empowering too. Because again, I think the way I was early in the hobby, it was a way I was a lot of my addictive personality traits that I was getting away from were kind of very apparent in the way that I was buying knives. Very, just not thinking, just doing it to do it late at night when I couldn't sleep. And it was all about the dopamine of it incoming.
Jim, yeah, I think you're right with that. It is nice to try new things and touch things, but the downside of that too is a lot of times when you think that something's going to be amazing and you get it in, you're like, it's okay. Like, and you're glad you didn't waste your money buying that, because there's very few items out there that are going to turn around and sell and get your money back. Most of them these are depreciating assets. You're going to lose money no matter what you buy. The cheaper it is, you're typically going to lose more money as far as percentage based. And at that point, it's like, what is it even worth selling? So that's why you start to get away from some of the budget stuff, is because there's no point turning around and reselling it. I mean, it's 50% off of what it costs brand new.
And
so
then you got to ship it. And
yeah, I mean, I don't think, if you're not in a place where you can actually go to a store, touch things, it's not a bad way to start just looking for things secondary. So you take that
initial depreciation.
Take the depreciation out of it, and you can turn around and sell it and not lose your butt. I'm not sure what that means. What's up, Andrew?
Hey, I'll give you, there was some conversation going on in one of the groups where they were talking about the Medford video. Andrew, dude, thank you, man. I appreciate you more than you know. I'm going to have to do this real quick. Thank you, brother. That's a man hug for you. But there was a conversation going on about some people with hurt feelings because they didn't watch the whole video, or they didn't see the points that he was making. And I was really proud of Kevin coming out and saying, guys, you'd feel the same way if you're in his position. I totally get where he's coming from. And then he expanded on that, where Shane and I talked about it. And again, I think there's a difference in how you perceive what you're doing, maybe. I think he's very open with what they're doing and how they fit into the market. And he made a good point. He agreed that, anytime you buy a Kaiser, if it's one of their originals or a wheat, 100% of the funds go back to that manufacturing country if it's not a collaboration. However, if you buy one of these these OEM projects, it's only 30 or 40% allegedly going back. I don't know how accurate that is, but he was in the same boat as the people that were complaining, and he was seeing it from just what I consider an objective, from based on the video, if you watched it and listened to it, point. I thought it was pretty cool. I didn't say anything, but I still am a lefty fan, because he's honest about what he's doing. Now, he might not be honest about everything or how the sausage is made. Yeah, it is, Paul. You and I have both been there, brother. We even talked about it. I've totally gotten over it. I have 100% can let things go and know that if it's meant to be, it'll come around.
The bad thing is, what people don't grasp early on is, with FOMO, there's always someone out there who's going to have more money and have more access and is always going to get the best. And it's pointless to try to keep up with people. Get what you want. And if that means you're going to buy a lot, then so be it. But you're never going to be the top dog or keep up with everybody. And that's unfortunately what social media has
perpetuates,
pushed us into, is showing off the latest and greatest. Oh, I got this thing. Well, tomorrow I got to post something new. No, you don't.
And I got a news flash for you. I have totally dropped, not the ball altogether, but I don't post nearly as much on Instagram as I used to, because no one outside of my followers sees my posts. So it's just kind of a waste of time.
Yeah,
I post like 4 times a week. It's still a lot, but I'm not putting a ton of time into it like a lot of people do.
I'm sporadic. I'll drop a bunch and then I won't post for a while. Then I'll drop a bunch and then I just don't post. And never.
Ryan, exactly. That's one of the biggest knife gripes I have with those, when I call them gatekeepers, people that are fanboys, where they look down on everything else and they don't take into consideration.
Right.
Everybody has different needs and things that they feel comfortable buying.
My thing is, I just want people to be educated. And once you have that information, do with it what you please and whatever makes you happy. But don't stand on it and be upset if someone gives you information that you don't like. It's not confirmation bias.
No, I agree with that too. But I think there's a lot of, if you look for it, there's a lot of objective information. And one way to do it is watch multiple videos. I watched videos mainly early on from Blade HQ, and I'm happy to say that of all the knives I bought, there were maybe 3 that were, to me, disappointing. Again, because I watched a lot of videos and I would have my mind made up about something about the knife before I'd order it. And usually just watching the reviewer operate the knife was all I needed to see.
Ed, that's funny because it's so true.
Dude, and I think it's great to have, for me, since I'm not working now, I have to have a schedule. So what I'm trying to do is get more into my YouTube comments every day. And I'm doing my shorts, because shorts take a little bit of time, but that's been, for me, kind of what's grown my channel the way it's grown, which is just subscribers. It's not views or anything. But there's nothing wrong with posting there. I'm just saying, for me, I grew to about where I am now 2 or 3 years ago. And once Instagram started cranking down a little bit, even though I've gone back from a professional to personal account, so it doesn't say that my account's limited to who sees my posts. When I go in and look at it, it's only people that follow me. It's 0 people outside of my circle. So I just don't see an opportunity to really grow. I still want to post content there, and I do. I just don't prioritize it because I don't have time. And all these people are like, TikTok's where it's at, and I won't deal with their terms of services, but I just don't have the time or the bandwidth to get into more social media.
Well, regardless of the terms of service, it's just pure garbage and evil, but whatever. And
it's both.
One minute, I agree, but unfortunately, that's what society has driven us to, is seeing the best versions of people, and only that, and that's what you have to try to live up to, and that's unsustainable and mentally challenging towards everyone who watches it and takes on to that. Yeah, I mean, do you and be happy with that, and I couldn't agree more. But
and see, at this age, we can see it for the brain rot that it is. But think about the kids that are being brought up on this shit. To me, it's just, that's what's so scary.
That's why I said it's evil to a point, because they're actually turning people into creating and thinking a certain way versus.
Here, what's up, brother?
Stovey, hey, I'm glad you got it, buddy. Like I said, I didn't do much to it. I just touched it up on the strop and hone, but it didn't necessarily need an edge, and I didn't want to take the patina off of it because I thought you might want it on there like that, so I didn't polish or anything. But it is a cool little knife, though, for sure.
Ryan Ellis, that is the truest statement of the night. How many minutes? Let me see. We are 20 minutes from said faction. So we'll go about another 13, go to 3 hours, Kyle, and then we'll break it down. What do you think? That'll give everybody about, well, that's not enough time to get to said faction, is it?
Let's do 6 more minutes, cut it off at the hour mark, at that 12 o'clock mark, or 11 o'clock mark for you.
I like it. Guys,
give everyone a pee break.
Everybody's input to our little poll, trying to come up with stuff that, to me, I look at Kyle and am stoked that he's willing to come on here, because I look at him as someone who's done a lot of research in a lot of areas that I haven't. and I learn a lot from him. And I think if I want to learn stuff, and I've been doing this as long as I have, that other people probably want a non-biased place to get kind of information that's valid. And there are several places to get that, but I look at Kyle as kind of a truth sayer. Whether I agree with him all the time, not necessarily, but I'm learning, right? So I have preconceived notions that sometimes aren't rooted in fact. They're rooted in my beliefs, however I came to believe them, right? Yay, Kyle.
Yeah, I'm not gonna toot my own horn, Sam, but I try to give
Gareth.
the best information that I can to someone. So,
And when you learn something different, you're willing to come back and say, "Hey, I'll learn something different. This is not."
Yeah.
Gareth, did you ever get that from Vosteed? Because I've communicated with them, but there's a lot going on right now over there with everything. Just give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down, because I will be back in touch with May tonight. Just so y'all know, from what I'm hearing, is a lot of people that get knives monthly, every month from bigger companies, are not getting anything right now. So it's a lot of, because what they call over there is the tax, but they're talking about tariffs. So I think that's, in terms of stuff coming from overseas, it's affecting a lot that I don't know, but I just see the results of only one reviewer had the new Kaisers for May.
Ed, 1 minute. I'm glad to hear you're doing a little better on your arm, buddy. Ed, make decent designs. I think they're a little overpriced for what you get, and they were having some initial issues with how they were treating their Magna Cup, but I don't know how they're doing it now. I've not seen anything new from them in a while. So,
see you, buddy. Thanks for coming by, man. I appreciate it more than you know.
Thanks. I don't necessarily agree with that, but thank you, Sierra.
Oh, buddy, Garrett, I'll shoot you my cell tonight, because I'm rarely in my Instagram messages, not nearly as much as I should be. I'm the worst at social media. Thanks, Richard. Richard's an awesome dude. I've got a box of knives that we'll be able to use for giveaways that Richard sent me. I got tonight. I haven't even unboxed them yet.
What's up, B Shady? I don't know if I saw you come in there or not, buddy.
Me too, Paul. I love Shady's posts. I love Lord Needham's posts. I love your posts. Yeah, I think cool stuff's fun to look at. And I love looking at Pride. Well, I noticed that Pride of Gypsies doesn't show a lot of nice stuff. Thank you, Gareth, dude. I appreciate it, brother. And I'm sorry I didn't see the message.
B Shady, did you get moved? Everything get settled? Ed, I don't know how far back they started doing it. I just know that they hopped onto the scene with their Magna Cut as far as being issues. I'm not sure prior to that. I haven't done any testing on the older stuff, so I don't want to mislead you on that.
Paul, and they exist in all communities, and a lot of them, I think Kathleen might have hit on it earlier, but a lot of people troll. You know, some do it for fun. Like Stevie, I think, is a great troll. Shane's a great troll. And then you have people that are just out there looking to come into different chats and talk smack, right? You see it in, and it doesn't affect them, but you see it in the honey bucket, you know, where people just come in and drop shitty comments because they're looking, they're kids usually.
Yeah. I mean, by first account, I'll state the fact that I like to have fun and joke with people. I don't try to derail anything, but I enjoy giving people a hard time because I get it back. But if someone asks a question, I'm never going to look down upon them or troll them or give them bad information because of that. It's my knowledge is whatever it's limited to is knowledge for everybody and shared with anyone who wants it. I don't always try to give it freely as far as tell people how to think. But if you have a question, I'll always answer it. So,
dude, that's a great place to end it on. And I appreciate you doing that. And again, being willing to share the information that you have, I think is what makes this community so great. But guys, it's time for said faction. Y'all look out for the guys or gals to your left. Look out for the guys and gals to your right. Look out for each other. Thank you for stopping by. Channel members, stop by tomorrow for a short live. I love each and every one of you. Kyle, you got anything to share with these lovely people?
not much, man. Have a good weekend, and we'll see you soon.
All right, guys. Love you all. See you at said faction.
Lights go dark, the stream comes on. Javon's here, the vibe is strong. Click and